Hi everyone, please subscribe to my channel. Blood Immortal. See playlist for other chapters and novels. Join now our Telegram channel now and enjoy exclusive early access. t.me/blood_immortal_official. I do not translate the novels. Credits goes to original translator and author of the novel. I only make it as an audiobook so it would be easier to just listen while doing other things. Credits goes to the author of the novel. I convert stories to audiobook for mental health, for multitasking purpose, for accessibility and time saving. Listening to audiobook is also beneficial for people who have disability. It improves our listening skills and improve our English comprehension, vocabulary and other things. So, thank you for listening. Thank you and thank you very much for your support. Chapter 361, Ancient Demon Grounds. Chapter 361, Ancient Demon Grounds. Chicky, don't tell me that you truly can't bear to leave the place. Lin Fan, who was on the run after his show of bullshit, was now quite a distance away from Shanling sect with Chicky. But looking at Chicky's desolate face, Lin Fan was feeling helpless. Seemed like pleasure was indeed addictive. Kukkaku. Chicky sat on Lin Fan's shoulders listlessly. Spreading out his wings and shrinking his head, he looked into the distance as though he was reminiscing about before. Lin Fan flicked Chicky's head. All right, don't give me that deadbeat look. We've still got an important thing to do. And of course, that important thing Lin Fan was talking about was none other than to conquer all the Seven Saints treasure map locations, so that Seven Saint that old fogey would lose every last bit of hope. Woof woof. Just then, Lin Fan released the black dog he had always kept in his storage. The consciousness of the Seven Saint had been transferred into this black dog. Hence, the moment it was let out, it snarled viciously towards Lin Fan. Those eyes which were filled with rage looked as though they were ready to devour Lin Fan. How's that, old dog Seven Saint? Getting used to this body? You want to borrow some bodies to return to this world? Seems like you're still too weak to finish that wish of yours. Lin Fan chuckled. Lin Fan had to admit that this Seven Saint was pretty something to be able to lure and tempt people to fight over his treasures and the like. Woof woof. Upon hearing these words, the black dog's eyes turned bloodshot red. If not for the fact that he couldn't speak, he would have lashed out hardcore at Lin Fan's face. Just then, Chicky appeared right beside the Seven Saint old dog. With a single claw, he stomped down on the dog's head, burying it into the ground. Those sparkly eyes shone with contempt, as though the black dog's barking was annoying him. Seven Saint, even my Chicky can stomp down on your face any day. You can just go and castrate yourself. Lin Fan jeered. Kukkaku. Raising his head, Chicky pecked down on the black dog's head, as though asking the latter to wisen up and not try anything funny. Listen up, Seven Saint old dog. Yours truly is going to use the rest of my time to hunt down all your bloody hidden chambers. Very soon, you shall feel every single portion of this black dog's body for your own. Lin Fan laughed out, trying to steal the body of yours truly. Do you know the consequences now? Woof woof. The Seven Saint black dog barked wildly. But with Chicky's claw stamping on his head, he couldn't move at all. And suddenly, the sky changed. A streak of lightning suddenly shot through the clear sky. Accompanying it was a sudden patch of red clouds. But just as the sky turned red, everything disappeared again. Everything came too quickly, and no one had any time to react at all. Seeing this, Lin Fan was equally bewildered. This phenomenon did not seem like a good sign. Looking at the sky, the eyes of the Seven Saint black dog flashed with a look of fear as well. His paws were clawing furiously at the ground, as though he had something to say about it. Chicky, let him go. Let's see what he's up to. Lin Fan commented. Cuckoo. Chicky released his claw grip and stepped aside. If this black dog were to try anything funny, he would stomp on his head once more. He's writing something. Looking at the way the black dog was behaving, Lin Fan chuckled. Seemed like this black dog is truly trying to express something. A great catastrophe is imminent on Xuanwang world. Let me go and I'll take you to another world. The Seven Saint black dog scratched out these words on the ground. He then raised his head and looked at Lin Fan, as though trying to make a deal with Lin Fan. Che, and here I was thinking about what it could be. So that's all. Lin Fan looked at the black dog in disdain and with a flick of his hand, swung it back into his storage. But still, Lin Fan was extremely concerned. Just what was that phenomenon all about? Power. He had to make sure he increased his power level as soon as possible. After that, Lin Fan tossed the bodies of the Grand Master of Heaven Sea Sect and Yama into his heaven and earth smelt and began smelting. Ding, congratulations on obtaining 25 energy grid line chains. It was fast. Just like that, he obtained yet another 25 energy grid line chains. To summon the Heart Demon Emperor from the Blood World, he required 20 energy grid line chains at least. But Lin Fan was in no hurry to summon anything at all. He would wait till he obtained more energy grid line chains before using them all up on summoning. Demon City in a Palm was a heaven-graded upper-level skill. This was considered a pretty incredible skill. Ding, learn, Demon City in a Palm. Yes, ding, congratulations on learning, Demon City in a Palm. Demon City in a Palm, level 1 foot. Flipping his palm around, a mass of demonic energy began to gather on Lin Fan's palm. After that, an illusory city of demons seemed to have materialized above his palms. But Lin Fan was somewhat exasperated. This demon city seemed to be empty right now. Seemed like he had to gather the spirits there himself. Chicky, let's go. Waking up from his casting of the skill, Lin Fan beckoned to Chicky and allowed the latter to hop onto his shoulder. And just like that, the man and beast disappeared from where they were, heading towards the next destination on the 7 Saint treasure map, Ancient Demon Grounds. A few days later, when Lin Fan came out from the voids and looked at the scene before him, he couldn't help but sigh exasperatedly. Seems like these are the Ancient Demon Grounds. Within these past few days, Lin Fan had congealed 2 new energy grid line chains of wind and earth. By now, Lin Fan's left arm had fused with 4 energy grid line chains. The Ancient Demon Grounds was yet another plot of forbidden grounds in the Dongling continent. There were many forbidden grounds in Dongling continent that were spread out sparsely. Many sects would also choose to base their foundations near to one of these forbidden grounds. After all, these forbidden grounds were extremely useful to the cultivation practice of their sect's disciples. Even though the forbidden grounds were fraught with danger, cultivation was something that went beyond the wills of the heavens to begin with. Everyone's lives were destined by the heavens. Even though there was a great chance that they might perish within the forbidden grounds, there were many people who still wanted to try their luck at these places. Hidden up in the void, Lin Fan caught sight of a few people who were there to cultivate. But the shocking thing was that he had seen 2 of them before. Yu Shatian and He Yuhan. He had a chance meeting with these 2 in a cave. Standing in the midst of a big group, these 2 did not stand out particularly. But the cultivation states of these 2 people had Lin Fan feeling bewildered. In just the span of a few months, they had such a stark jump in their cultivation states. To think that Sha Yutian was at Lesser Celestial lower level state, and He Yuhan was at Lesser Celestial upper level state as well. Incredible, this was definitely incredible. Back in the cave when Lin Fan wanted to give these 2 a good robbing, he realized to his dismay that there was a mysterious person watching over them. Because of that aura that was locked onto him, he gave up on his robbing intent. But looking at the 2 of them here, he though if they were here because of the 7 Saint treasure map. Yuhan, what are we doing here? Sha Yutian wasn't someone who had a lot of opinions. The decision to join this current sect was not decided by him, but He Yuhan. Even up till now, he had no idea what they were doing in this sect. He Yuhan looked at Sha Yutian and a smile curled on her face. Brother Sha, there's something here that'll be of great importance to you. What is it? Sha Yutian asked curiously. She gave off a mysterious smile. You'll know soon. Translator's thoughts. Lamb. It feels like the author is trying to tie up all the loose ends and work on making and linking everyone into a grand plot. I hope his weaving works out like a big blanket though. Real excited to see what everything beholds. Chapter 362, Demon God Bloodline. Chapter 362, Demon God Bloodline. Senior Brother Sha, Senior Sister He. Can I join you guys in a party later on? A disciple whispered gently as he made his way towards them. He was extremely envious of these 2 people. Not only were they really strong, they were also a couple. Everyone one would die to be in their position. The Ancient Demon Grounds was definitely fraught with all sorts of dangers. If he could remain by the side of 2 powerful seniors, then his own safety would definitely be guaranteed. Even if he may not obtain the best items out of this place, he would definitely get a share of the average ones. Sure, He Yuhan replied with a look of craftiness on her face before nodding. Senior brother, senior sister, us too. We want to join up with you guys as well. A few other disciples called out from behind them. These guys were just starting on their path of cultivations, and were looking for strong people to back them up. Sure, no problem. He Yuhan welcomed anyone who would join. Yuhan, this. Sha Yutian was feeling worried as he saw this. Weren't they here to look for stuff? Why were they bringing so many people along with them? But when he saw how brightly Yuhan was smiling, he didn't press the issue any further. He trusted that Yuhan was really smart. And, he also knew that the only reason why he was still alive and could even raise his cultivation state this quickly was all due to her. Looking at how these people disappeared after they entered a thick, dense mist, Lin Fan entered the mist from another side. The ancient demon grounds had always been shrouded by a thick mist, disallowing anyone any vision of anything within. Rumors had it that the ancient demon grounds was a place where a big ancient powerful demon had fallen. As the massive body of that demon pummeled down onto the ground, it crashed down onto this country. The putrid aura that was released from the demon was absorbed entirely by the residents of the country, causing all of them to die at the same time. With that, an unexplainable shroud encompassed this entire place altogether. Whether or not this was true, no one knew. Passing through the shroud, Lin Fan could not help but acknowledge that this must have been a prosperous city with the sight of the dilapidated houses and collapsed inns. The ancient demon grounds was filled with the same putrid scent. Grim, horrifying, the entire place sent shivers down one's spine. And just then, a pair of bloodshot eyes which were hiding in a corner leapt out at Lin Fan. The FCK, what's this? With a wave of his finger, Lin Fan used his sword will to slash at that dark shadow which leapt out at him. Ding, congratulations on killing post-celestial monster. Ding, experience points +1. Lin Fan shook his head. Seemed like the rumors were true after all. These were probably the old residents who were infected by the putrid aura. But they were simply too weak. Lin Fan had zero idea where he should start searching from. Hence, he could only move around aimlessly like a housefly. Along the way, he killed countless monsters. But all of them were post-celestial, with nothing higher that appearing. With this, Lin Fan could not help but wonder if he was in a less dangerous region. Perhaps if he continued wandering deeper, he might meet stronger monsters. Suddenly, he caught sight of a red glowing medicinal herb that was growing on a corpse. Ding, congratulations on discovering blood spirit grass. Blood spirit grass, nourished by the aura of blood, allows the blood flow of one's body to be strengthened. Lin Fan casually tossed the blood spirit grass onto the floor. To any other martial artist, this would be an extremely valuable treasure. But to Lin Fan, this was nothing different from trash. But a training ground was a training ground indeed. Even with danger around, this place was filled with treasures. Lin Fan continued pressing forward deeper. Along the way, he bumped into many disciples. However, he always remained hidden in the dark and did not reveal himself to anyone. All of these disciples were in parties. They grouped up together to kill the monsters and at the same time, obtain many previous herbs and valuable treasures. But, Lin Fan did bump into some disciples who met with danger. Even though these monsters weren't particularly strong, many of them were extremely hideous looking. Some of the disciples were frightened on looking at these for the first time. Those moments of shock allowed the monsters to gain the edge over them. But since he met them, Lin Fan wasn't someone who would sit idly. From the darkness, he casually assisted them by slaying the monsters. As he continued treading forth, he found that the shroud surrounding the place got gradually thicker as well. At the same time, the monsters were improving in terms of strength. All of them were paracelestial monsters now. But to Lin Fan, they were still like ants which he could just squash. However, the experience points he gained were just that pitiful bit. Elsewhere, being carried by He Yuhan and Sha Yutian, some of the disciples were receiving bountiful rewards along this expedition. Senior brother, senior sister. There's a strand of herb here. A disciple found a strand of herb growing in a gap and he exclaimed out excitedly. But of course, this disciple did not dare to take this herb all for himself in this situation. Okay, since you found it, you can have it. He Yuhan replied. Thank you, senior sister. The disciple was overwhelmed with joy as he placed the herb gently back into his storage. Indeed, it was the right choice following these two seniors. A herb like this was generally guarded by paracelestial beasts and above. If not for his two seniors who had slain these beasts, he could definitely not do it on his own. Some of the other disciples following along could only look at this junior brother in envy. Damn it, why weren't they the ones who had seen the herb? This lucky boy. But then again, they were more than satisfied with everything right now. Following these two powerful seniors, any monsters they encountered could only die with regrets as they passed through them with ease. As for the herbs and treasures that these monsters left behind, neither of their seniors cared about them, allowing them to scavenge for themselves. With that, they were more than overwhelmed with joy. Senior brother, senior sister. The monsters ahead look to be really strong. How about we head back now? Looking at the monsters they were bumping shoulders with, a disciple couldn't help but start to get worried. Especially now that his storage was pretty full, he was more than happy enough with everything. HMPH, how are you so cowardly? With senior brother and senior sister around, what are you worried about? If you want to go back, go on your own. But there are only things to gain following our seniors. Another disciple chided at him in displeasure. All right then, the disciple thought for a moment. That was right, what did he have to fear with his senior brother and senior sister around? Looking at this bunch of disciples, Yuhan's lips curled into a smile. Yuhan, I seem to be sensing a mysterious aura up ahead. Sha Yutian frowned, he had an ominous feeling about this. Brother Sha, that's exactly what we're looking for. Yuhan replied. Yuhan, how about you just tell me what that is? Looking at Yuhan's look of confidence, Sha Yutian could confirm that she definitely knew what it was. The bloodline of the big ancient demon, Yuhan replied softly. Ah, Sha Yutian's heart skipped a beat. Rumors have it that this is the place where the big ancient demon had fallen. And, it's actually all true. That big ancient demon was a mighty ruler in the past. Even though dozens of thousands of years have passed, this bloodline of his could easily withstand the passage of time. As long as Brother Sha consumes this bloodline, you will possess the demon god bloodline. That will bring about tremendous benefits to you. Yuhan grinned. Yuhan, just who are you? How do you know all these things? He asked. Brother Sha, don't worry about that. You just have to trust that I will never ever harm you. Sha Yutian went silent for a bit before nodding his head. He had traveled across countless forbidden grounds with Yuhan in these past few months, and had gained many benefits out of them. That was the reason why his cultivation state had been skyrocketing. And all of the credit belonged to Yuhan. If not for her, he might still even be just at a paracelestial right now. To Sha Yutian, Yuhan was like a walking encyclopedia who knew everything about this world. Translator's thoughts. Lamb lamb, plot soup boys plot soup's getting thick. Chapter 363, found yet another secret chamber. Chapter 363, found yet another secret chamber. Holy sh*t. This bloody seven saint black dog. Where did he hide the thing? Lin Fan was getting exasperated now. Going around in circles, he had bumped into countless monsters. But still, he hadn't caught sight of any secret chambers or the likes. Kukkaku, perched on Lin Fan's shoulders all along, Chicky was feeling crestfallen seeing how frustrated his master was. With a helpless sigh, he hopped down from Lin Fan's shoulders. Sniff sniff. Lowering his head, Chicky took a sniff of the surroundings. Chicky, don't tell me that you can find it. Looking at Chicky's behavior, Lin Fan commented with some disbelief. Chicky did not cry out in reply. Instead, he closed his eyes gently, as though he was trying to sense the air around him. Chicky, are you sure you can? Tossing his head, Chicky brought forth a look of displeasure. It was as if he were saying, you're disturbing me. All right, I'll stop talking, you take your time. Lin Fan stood quietly at one side, breathing gently and softly. He just stared at Chicky doing his thing. Helplessly, he wanted to tell Chicky, you're not a dog. How do you think you're going to sniff this out? But just as he thought that, Chicky raised his head. Spreading open his wings, he beckoned to Lin Fan before dashing off. This was the meaning, there's no time for explanations. Hurry and hop on the train. Lin Fan stood there staring at Chicky's twerking bum with wide-opened eyes. Holy sh*t. And that worked. Following behind Chicky, the surroundings gradually started changing. The monsters they bumped into were getting stronger and stronger. Paracelestials, lesser celestials. In fact, some of them were even greater celestials. This doggish seven saint knew how to hide his secret chamber in the sneakiest of places indeed. For anyone who came to this place seeking training, this was a trial. For the person whose body seven saint wished to possess, he ought to have tip-top potential, caliber, and luck. As for a powerful being like seven saint, seeing through something like luck was extremely easy as well. Someone with immense luck, no matter how weak he might be, he could possibly stumble into this secret chamber just with his dumb luck. Cuckoo. After a certain distance, Chicky stopped before a wall. He then used his wings to pat on the wall. Could it be right here? Lin Fan looked at the wall doubtingly. As if they had just realized that Lin Fan was there, all the monsters around him leapt at him in a frenzy. But Lin Fan did not feel any concern about these monsters. Even though some of them were greater celestial, none of them had a mind of their own. As such, they could not cultivate out energy grid line chains on their own. Therefore, even if they were at a greater celestial state, all of them were the weakest a greater celestial could be. With a single flash of his sword wool, Lin Fan slashed through all the monsters in the area. Seemed like the experience points were decent. Not bad. Touching the wall, Lin Fan felt that it was extremely normal as he could not make out anything different about this. But Lin Fan trusted in Chicky. There was no way Chicky would just stop here for absolutely no reason. Channeling true energy into his hand, Lin Fan pulverized the wall. The moment it shattered, a hole appeared right before him. The hole was pitch black within. In fact, it even felt eerily sinister. But none of that mattered to Lin Fan as he leapt right in, sliding down along with it. Following right behind, Chicky slid down with him. Dong! When Lin Fan landed on the ground below, noises came out from the surroundings. Something mysterious on the wall illuminated the entire secret chamber. Seems like you're really here. Looking at his surroundings, Lin Fan chuckled. This secret chamber wasn't too big, and was circular in shape. There was another hole on the wall, but no one could tell where it led to. But Lin Fan garnered that that hole must be for the destined person with extreme luck. If someone were truly that lucky, he would probably trigger something upon touching something somewhere before tumbling straight down. And for that so-called lucky person, finding the jade white bones of this doggish seventh saint must definitely be a treasure beyond his wildest imaginations. But as for what would happen later on, well, everyone should know. At this point, Lin Fan took out that seventh saint black dog from his storage. The moment the black dog caught sight of this familiar place, he started barking viciously. Cuckoo! With his claw, Chicky stomped down on the black dog's head once more. For a powerful being as such to be put down by someone like Chicky, that was totally unheard of. Seven Saint Black Dog, does this place look really familiar right now? Seems like yours truly has found yet another one of your chambers. Lin Fan chuckled. Instead of the lucky person you're waiting for, here comes yours truly. I've gotta say though, you've definitely got terrible luck, son. But no matter, let yours truly see what kind of doggish traps you've set up this time around. Walking towards the jade white bones, Lin Fan began searching around. Yo, seems like you've got some new tricks H. Looking at the words inscribed on the stone tablet, Lin Fan could not help but laugh out once more. I am the ancient god of the demons. I've been waiting for someone with affinity like you. Drip a drop of your blood on my jade white bones and you shall inherit everything I had. Lin Fan gently read out these words from the stone tablet. Well, Seven Saint Black Dog, it's not that I want to nag at you, but previously, you asked someone to kowtow to you like daddy. And now, you want a drop of their blood. Goodness, your skills at *TTING. Gosh, forget it, it's fine. Let's see what you left for them on that table. Lin Fan came across a small table. Just like before, there was a wooden box there that was made up of mythical wood. When he opened the box, a pill laid there exactly the same as before. Even though it was written as, Heaven Revolting Potential Changing Pill, the true meaning behind it was, Soul Destroying Pill. You silly old dog Seven Saint, don't you think you should change this up a little? Don't tell me that it's all the same in your remaining chambers. Lin Fan asked the black dog who was held firmly under Chicky's claws. Woof woof, the Seven Saint Black Dog barked out, eyes filled with boundless hatred. At the same time, there was a hint of anguish within those barks. Did it seem like an easy thing for a guy like the Seven Saint Lord? Fallen onto the world, the Seven Saint had created 7 layers in weight of lucky men of immense potential to take the bait, so that he could steal back to life once more. At the same time, to ensure that his chance at rebirth was greater, he separated his consciousness into 7 parts to play it safe. But to think that this bloody lad would see through his entire plan. He had thought this over time and again while he was alive, and thought that it was all perfect. One might not even be able to tell that the pill was real or fake. But how the hell did this guy catch the issue within the pill? Forget it, let yours truly help your consciousness gain a home, alright. Lin Fan lifted up the jade white bones. But the moment he did so, a vortex appeared right behind it once more. HMPH, let's just leave the fact that I was FCKED over by this the previous time. And here you are trying this again. Insolent. Looking at this vortex, Lin Fan snorted coldly. With a single slap of his palm, the vortex disappeared into nothingness. Ding, congratulations on discovering jade white bones of ancient powerful being. Contains 1 strand of consciousness. Alright, Seven Saint Black Dog, fetch. Lin Fan laughed coldly. With a curl of his finger, the consciousness of the jade white bones flew out towards the black dog. NOVLP in .C ohm. Woof woof. The black dog struggled. Looking at the consciousness flying towards him, he was filled with fear. He couldn't fuse with it anymore. Otherwise, he would truly spend the rest of his life in this dog's body. But under Chicky's stomp, the black dog could only struggle helplessly as he watched the consciousness fly within his body. Haha, not bad, not bad. Seven Saint, you shall live within the body of this dog forever. Snatching anyone's body, dream on son, dream on. Looking at the black dog, Lin Fan gave off a wide smile. Yes. Suddenly, Lin Fan frowned. A strange voice rang out as he could feel a spine-chilling aura. Translator's thoughts. Lamb lamb. Ha 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 ha, I just find it extremely hilarious how Chicky stomps down on the Seven Saints' head. That is so cute of him. Chapter 364. Why are there perverted FCKS everywhere? Yours truly's at. Chapter 364. Why are there perverted FCKS everywhere? Yours truly's at. Yuhan, what's this? Sha Yudian was befuddled by every single thing that was happening before him. This is the ancient demon's head. Even after being stowed away for 10,000 years, there is no sign of it rotting at all. Yuhan showed no signs of shock. She was calm as though she'd seen all of these before. Standing behind her, those disciples who had long gotten their fill of the treasures were completely rooted. Even though half of the head were still buried in the ground, just the half that was revealed was more than chilling enough. The purple eye of the demon's head that was above the ground was even more sinister looking. Yuhan, let's go, I don't feel really comfortable about this. Sha Yudian lowered his head gently, not daring to make direct eye contact with the purple eye. Just a single look was enough to send shivers down his spine. Senior sister, how about us leaving first? We've already had more than enough treasures. Some of the disciples behind her called out. Completely disregarding these disciples, Yuhan looked at Sha Yudian and continued, trust me, brother Sha. This is really important for you. Even though the ancient demons and demon royalty were destroyed through the rivers of time, this big demon had remained intact all this while. This demon god bloodline will ensure that you become an unparalleled existence. This world requires your powers as a shield. Yuhan continued. Yuhan, I've got no idea what you're talking about. But how about let's leave this place? The feeling that this place gives off is really repressing. Standing beside the gigantic head, Sha Yudian's face was a little pale. This aura caused him to feel really uneasy. The same went for his junior brothers. But for some unknown reason, Yuhan was unnaturally chill. Shaking her head, Yuhan placed her palm on the head which did not rot after 10,000 years. Gently closing her eyes, her palms gave off a warm glow. An unknown power surged through the layer of void and descended upon Yuhan's body. Concentrate. Suddenly, a drop of purple blood with a tinge of black floated gently upon Yuhan's palms. Look, brother Sha, this is the demon god essence blood. Once you swallow this, you will possess the demon god bloodline. She said while looking at Sha Yudian. Looking at the drop of blood floating gently above Yuhan's palms, his face changed. There seemed to be a berserk consciousness that was lying within the blood. Looking at this drop of blood, Yuhan let out a grin. With a flick of her finger, the black impurities were separated out from the blood. As if they had a life of their own, they flew towards the disciples and fused with them. The negative emotions of the big demon had now been removed by Yuhan. In a blink of an eye, she reappeared before Sha Yudian and knocked him out cold. What are you doing, senior sister? Looking at their senior sister causing their senior brother to faint, these disciples asked in bewilderment. Oh, if I kill you guys before him, that will cause unnecessary misunderstandings. She replied calmly. What do you mean, senior sister? All of their faces turned pale with shock. However, all of them suddenly collapsed onto the ground, writhing around as though something was about to break out from their bodies. The big ancient demon has conquered countless battles and had an unparalleled killing intent. Therefore, the negative emotions that he possessed were simply way too much. The reason why I brought you guys in here is so that I can find a home for these negative emotions. Yuhan continued coldly. Senior sister, the disciples were in disbelief. But, don't blame me as well. I didn't force any of you guys to come. All of this was fated by the heavens. Yuhan had zero emotions at all. With a flick of her finger, the essence blood then bounced into Sha Yudian's body. Ah, senior sister, Before these disciples could even finish, a black mist exploded out as pitch-black bone-like spikes protruded out of all of their bodies. It's time to send you guys on your way. If I let you carry on, you'll bring harm upon this world. Without hesitation, Yuhan slashed down on all these disciples who had just turned into monsters cleanly. Boom! Suddenly, a shock rippled through the ground. Yuhan's face changed. Seems like you haven't frozen up with death. In fact, you have even reborn through it. You're not called the big ancient demon for nothing indeed. Seems like you've planned all of this. Even I was tricked by you. He Yuhan looked at the half-head that was protruding out of the ground. Right now, the purple eye was flashing with a sinister light. But 10,000 years have already passed. Since you have already fallen, then you should just obediently continue as such. Don't think about coming out then. He Yuhan's face changed again as two rainbow beams burst out of her palms, trying to suppress the big ancient demon. Suddenly, a bright burst of light shot out from the purple eye, destroying the rainbow beams entirely. He Yuhan stumbled back a few steps with a look of disbelief. How could that be? Oh, you can't even save yourself now, and you're thinking about suppressing me. Know your place, fool. Suddenly, a loud voice boomed out across the void. The ancient demon grounds began to shake as the ground caved in, collapsing the nearby structures. He Yuhan stood there undecided. Eventually, she caught hold of Sha Yudian and ripped through the void, escaping out of this place. The head that was buried in the ground extended out continuously. Eventually, a gigantic head appeared, looking down upon the rest of the world in disdain. Gra-rh. The big ancient demon growled loudly. Opening his big mouth, the putrid aura in the vicinity were vacuumed by a strong invisible force within it. The monsters that were roaming the ancient demon grounds shrieked sharply before turning into a putrid aura, and were sucked into the big demon altogether. What's happening? What's going on with this place? Some of the disciples who were training at the place looked astounded as they felt the vibrations, wondering what was happening. Ah, don't kill me. A disciple who was defeated by a monster was now covering his head and cowering while screaming out in fear. But as he opened his eyes gently, he found the monster turning into the putrid aura and floating towards the distance. Disciples of the sect who were outside the ancient demon grounds right now were pale with fright. The putrid aura of the forbidden grounds seemed to be decreasing rapidly. At the same time, there seemed to be a vortex that was sucking in this aura from the center of the place. Elder, what's happening? There are still disciples within there. Well, if you're asking me, then who should I ask? The ancient demon grounds has existed for a really long time, but nothing like this has ever happened before. Then what should we do? The elders of the sect were in a flurry of nerves right now. They did not know what sort of scary thing was happening within there right now. You guys hurry up and leave. The big ancient demon within has revived. The only chance we have at killing that thing is if we gather all of Dongling continent's strongest powerhouses. Dragging Sha Yudian along with her, He Yuhan suddenly appeared in the sky and passed on this warning to the people below. Sha Yudian, He Yuhan. How are you guys? The elders of the sect looked at these two in shock. Weren't these two disciples inside as well just now? And both of them are just lesser celestial beings. How could they have the power to rip through the void? Hurry up and leave if you do not want to waste your life here. This big ancient demon is not something you guys can handle. Looking at the distance, He Yuhan's face was grim. She then disappeared into the void once more, not wanting to stay here any longer. Elder, how did those two disciples? Never mind that now, let's just leave first. But what about the disciples within? What else can we do? Do we look like the big ancient demon's match? To think that the rumors were real all along. ... Seven Saints' secret chamber. The moment the big ancient demon was revived, Lin Fan felt this maniacal aura bursting out. This was a shocking aura to withstand. Bloody hell, why was it that there were bloody perverted FCKS everywhere yours truly appeared at? Chicky, don't play anymore. Time to come back. With a wave of his hand, he kept both Chicky and the black dog in his storage. This aura is far from normal. Even yours truly may not be able to deal with that. Translator's thoughts. Lamb. Wow, plot hype. Anyways, here's the author's actual comments. Well, you guys should know who this character, He Yuhan is, so I won't explain about her any further. But let's just say that Xuanwang World is just a starting point. Wow, that comment though, do we have any idea who she is? You guys, any clues? Chapter 365, Unparalleled Fighting Will. Chapter 365, Unparalleled Fighting Will. This guy, when Lin Fan exited the secret chamber, he realized that the ancient demon grounds were no longer what they looked like before. The putrid aura was no longer around. At the same time, all the dilapidated houses were turned into dust. The ground had a wide crack, as though someone had torn it apart. The forbidden ground ancient demon grounds had disappeared completely. Roar! A roar of boundless hatred roared out across the skies, shaking the entire world to its core. Just what is this thing? Lin Fan stood on a patch of barren grounds, looking at some massive figures which rose like mountain peaks. There were two purple horns that were growing on its head. On its body were patches of scales. Each scale was like a mountain peak by itself, pitch black and sharp. Those rough arms were like pillars that supported the heavens. There were dense mysterious symbols and runes which were carved on it. A gigantic chain was dragging across the ground, as though this was a demon which had just crawled out of hell. But the thing which caused Lin Fan to feel turned off was this. How dare this gargantuan thing stand between heaven and earth stark naked? What sort of impact would this cause to anyone who saw this? Weird, to think that it has no energy grid line chains. Using the system to check, Lin Fan could not find any energy grid line chains on this fella. Could it be that they were just not showing up on the system? But this aura was causing Lin Fan to hesitate. The skies were stained red like blood. With an unparalleled fighting intent, the aura of royalty permeated the air, causing everyone's heart to feel repressed. Unless, all of that was real. The ancient demon grounds is truly a place where a big ancient demon had fallen. And, could this be that so-called big ancient demon? Lin Fan wasn't too certain of the facts, so he wasn't quick to strike out as well. I'm Yao Wangtian. I want to wage war over the ancients once more. A savage roar spread through the entire place. His boundless hatred rippled out through the place, causing shivers to go down everyone's spines. Even as he was standing at this place that was pretty far away, Lin Fan's robes rose and bobbed with the shockwave. Yao Wangtian's purple eyes shone with boundless anger. Every single step he took was a few thousand feet in distance. To him, Lin Fan looked like nothing more than an ant, something he couldn't bother paying any attention to. Even though I don't know what in the world you are, but there's definitely no way you can just walk by yours truly so extravagantly. Lin Fan thought in his head. After that, he followed along Yao Wangtian's steps. Hurry up and run. That's too scary. Is this the big ancient demon? Just that body alone causes one to feel too fearful to resist that. Isn't the big ancient demon long dead? How did he revive? Goodness, the skies are changing. Lin Fan caught sight of a few disciples of the sect who were training in the Forbidden Grounds earlier, and made haste to catch up with them. Say, who's that fella? Like a ghost, Lin Fan appeared right before the person, scaring the other party shishtilas. But when he realized that it was a human, he heaved a sigh of relief. Hurry up and run. That's the big ancient demon. No one can fight that. The person who was halted by Lin Fan exclaimed loudly as though he was in shock. He then broke free of Lin Fan's grasp and ran off into the distance with his sect. Suddenly, a voice boomed out within Lin Fan's mind. Or rather, the voice was permeating the skies itself. The ancient demon grounds big ancient demon has revived. The entire Dongling continent needs to band together against it or face total annihilation. N-O-V-E in .c Ohm. Lin Fan raised his head at the skies in bewilderment. And what the hell was this all about? Why the hell were the heavens talking? And just as Lin Fan was busy figuring this thing out, every single sect within Dongling continent heard this frightening news as well. Glory sect, this is the voice of the heavens. To think that the big ancient demon of the ancient demon grounds would revive. How could this be? Gather every single disciple who is of greater celestial cultivation state and above to follow me out. Upon hearing this voice, Grand Master Yan sent down the orders immediately. An affair of this scale that concerned the entire Dongling continent was definitely far from ordinary. Even though he had not witnessed it for himself, it was inscribed in the records of Glory sect that the powers of the big ancient demon was extraordinarily formidable. Function sect, Xuanyang sect, Tai sect, Judian sect, Nine Heavens sect, ... One by one, the sects of Dongling continent started moving. The great sects had once made an agreement that if the time came when Dongling continent was in danger, they would let go of whatever squabble they had ever had. And by the looks of it, this voice of the heavens was something they had never heard before. To these sects, this was a battle that only disciples of greater celestial cultivation base and above could take part in. Any other disciple would probably just be cannon fodder. Lin Fan looked at that huge chunk of rock, Yao Wangtian. What a cocky name indeed. And you're a big ancient demon as well. Seems like I must definitely give it a good one with you. Following behind the big ancient demon all the way, Lin Fan just wanted to grasp the situation regarding this big ancient demon clearly. Along the way, he understood something as well. This big ancient demon was strong, and his strength was far superior compared to those blood demon emperors and the likes. Wherever he passed, grass would not grow, the rivers would stop flowing, the mountains would crumble flat. Even some of the beasts who were too ferocious would disintegrate into dust by just his pressure alone. Somewhere in Dongling continent, a ripple appeared in the peaceful void as two figures suddenly came out of it. He Yuhan's face was grim. She had committed a grave mistake this time around. For the sake of obtaining the demon god essence blood, she had unintentionally awakened the big ancient demon. All of this was a trap laid down by the big ancient demon. But no matter what she would say now, it was all too late. There was nothing she could do about this. Highs, if this were in the past, I would still be able to suppress this demon. But now, it's all too late. Looking up into the skies, He Yuhan gave off a long sigh. She then looked at Sha Yudian, who was still fainted, with determined eyes. At least there was still a strand of hope. Just then, Sha Yudian woke up. Yuhan, where am I? Sha Yudian's mind was confused, as though he could barely remember some things. It's all right, brother Sha. Can you feel the energy of the bloodline that's surging through your body? He Yuhan smiled at him. Sha Yudian looked at He Yuhan as he gradually felt the changes that were happening in his body. Yuhan, I feel a strange power coursing through my body. Upon hearing this, He Yuhan smiled gently and placed her palm on his shoulder, of course. This is. Suddenly, before she could continue, her face changed abruptly as she gripped her fist tightly. To think that this was just 1/3 road of the demon god bloodline. Yuhan, what's wrong? Sha Yudian asked, puzzled. Nothing, brother Sha, we're running out of time. Let's head to the next place. Standing up, He Yuhan stared into the distant skies. Even though they were quite a distance away from the forbidden grounds and everything seemed peaceful, in He Yuhan's eyes, the skies were filled with demonic energies. But, there was truly nothing she could do now. No matter what she did, she had to keep the bigger picture in mind. She could only hope that those big sects would be able to seal the big ancient demon. Translator's thoughts. Lamb. Oh gosh, why does this mysterious woman seem so important now? I feel like there's a lot of mysteries that's going on. Like I'm actually really excited for every single chapter right now. And the great battle with all the sects. Chapter 366. Shooting sh*T&P. Chapter 366. Shooting sh*T&P. Facing this prehistoric big ancient demon, Lin Fan felt a little apprehensive, not knowing how he should deal with this. From the looks of those pitch-black scales, it seemed to possess immense defensive capabilities. Even though this big ancient demon had a really bad habit of streaking around naked, some places on his body were pretty decently guarded. That mighty, baleful face of his caused everyone to have a choking feeling in their hearts. Cling, clang, the chain that was being dragged along glided across the floor, letting out a trawling sound as the earth beneath split apart. Every single step the big ancient demon took, the earth resonated with vibrations, as though it was accompanying the tempo of that gargantuan body. Every single place he passed by, life ceased to exist. Even up until now, Lin Fan had no idea what this big ancient demon was up to. Was he bent on just trawling around aimlessly? There were no visible signs of energy grid line chains. So, how was his cultivation state like? And just then, the big ancient demon began to speed up, as if he had discovered something. Even though he was puzzled, Lin Fan could not help but speed up along with it. Not good. When Lin Fan looked into the distance, he could not help but exclaim out in his heart. It was an imperial city. That was the big ancient demon's target. The imperial city. At this moment, all the residents within it were going on with their casual, peaceful lives. Boom, boom, the ground started shaking. What's going on? The ground's vibrating. Could it be an earthquake? Ah, what's that in the distance? Just what is that black figure? All the residents within the imperial city raised their heads to look up. All they saw was a black figure, which was so massive that it was covering almost the entire sky as it headed towards them. Even though these residents could not tell what it was, they had an ominous feeling in their hearts. The closer the black figure got, the more the people started screaming. That's a devil, the devil's coming for us. The king of the imperial city gathered all his men and horses. Looking at the black figure headed towards them, his face was grim and solemn. Some of the bigger imperial cities would have delegate coaches. When the imperial city faced danger, these delegates would step forth to help guard the city despite their own reservations. The heart of a righteous martial artist was always towards the innocent citizens. There were countless delegates that were like this. Just what is that? A lesser celestial delegate asked with a solemn expression. Even though it was quite a distance away, that repressive aura was slamming down in their hearts like mountains. Dongling continent, just what is happening to you? Why have all these weird massive occurrences been happening consistently in these 100 years? Another delegate asked with a concerned look. I'll head forth to take a look. A delegate glided through the sky towards the big ancient demon. Lin Fan was undecided at this moment. Should he try to attract the demon's attention? But just then, a streak of light dashed over from the distance. And the target of this streak of light was the big ancient demon. The delegate took exceptional care. However, when the putrid mist cleared and he caught a clear glimpse of what was within, his eyes were filled with thorough shock. This. The delegate was completely scared witless by the features of the big ancient demon. Not good. Suddenly, a sonic boom exploded through the skies as a massive hand grabbed out at the delegate. Immediately, the delegate rushed to throw out every single thing he had got, allowing the true energy from his body to burst out to a certain extent. But under that massive hand, everything was destroyed without a single scratch. "Ant, you dare to bother me?" The big ancient demon's voice boomed out, using 2 fingers to hold on to the head of the delegate. "Ah!" The delegate screamed at the top of his lungs. The tragic cry rang out across the entire skies. The big ancient demon took in a gentle breath. Instantly, the delegate's body shriveled up into a dried up, a wrinkled corpse with only bones and skin. HMPH. Weak. With that, the big ancient demon tossed this body of an ant far into the distance. Holy shit, wasn't that too overpowered, sucking one's soul and essence blood? Lin Fan had been watching this demon carefully. To think that it was this malicious. Seemed like the big ancient demon had just been searching for humans. Waiting in the imperial city nervously, everyone was shocked when they saw a corpse being flung into their faces. And when the corpse landed on the ground, they were even more horrified when they caught sight of his clothing. "That was Brother Yang," a delegate exclaimed out in disbelief. Brother Yang is a lesser celestial full cultivation being. He's just that one step away from being the ultimate state, greater celestial. How could this be? Panic spread out instantly amongst the crowds. Suddenly, a demonic roar boomed out from the distance, shaking everyone's heart to their cores. That was the sound that was emitted by the big ancient demon. "King, let's leave, we're definitely not a match for that thing," a delegate called out. "Then what would my citizens do? King, if we were to stay here, the only thing that awaits us is death." That mysterious voice earlier that permeated the entire Dongling continent. This must be the big ancient demon it was talking about. At this moment, a delegate who had been watching the distance keenly shook his head. "It's too late. He's already here." The moment everyone heard this, their faces turned pale in shock. How could he be this fast? But when they looked into the distance, they realized that the towering figure was already standing right in front of their city walls. Lin Fan was watching everything. This majestic imperial city with all its twists and turns looked boundless. This place must have a population of a few billions at the very least. But with a single suck, this big ancient demon should be able to suck up all their souls and essence blood cleanly. FCK, now that the situation is like this, how can yours truly even act with any more bullshit even? Floating up in the sky, Lin Fan's face was pained in a dilemma. He bit on his lips. FCK. F***CK it. No matter what, I can't just let these few billion people die for absolutely no reason. Just as the imperial city was in an utter state of frenzy, a voice boomed out through heaven and earth. "Exhibitionist, you better turn your head around for yours truly." Channeling his true energy, Lin Fan amplified his voice. The big ancient demon called out in anger. It was as though a brazen ant who was courting death had sent itself up to his doorsteps, causing him to feel extreme displeasure. And the moment the big ancient demon turned his head, multiple sword wills shot out from Lin Fan into the big ancient demon's eyes. Ding, ding, the FCK, so tough. Even striking at this fragile point of the big ancient demon's eyes, Lin Fan's countless sword wills could not break his defense. This, exhibitionist, take the palm of yours truly. Slapping out with his right palm, a palm strike of boundless force struck down from the heavens, wreaking havoc on everything. But Lin Fan could not believe it. This fist which had never lost before had finally met a bump slamming against this big ancient demon. That formidable force which caused everyone to shiver had zero impact. Boom! As the slap landed on the big ancient demon's head, everything did not turn out as Lin Fan had expected it to. By his expectations, the big ancient demon's head should be split cleanly into two like a watermelon. But the big ancient demon just shrugged his head, shook it off and glared at Lin Fan with a vengeful death stare. Holy FCK, this is bad. Looking at the scene before him, Lin Fan felt like breaking down. But this was not the moment to falter. With a single hand behind his back, Lin Fan stretched out his other hand and pointed 2 fingers jointly towards the demon. He then hollered out with a mighty air. "Little demon, if you've got guts, duke it out with yours truly for 300 rounds." Yours truly will surely wallop you so hard your sh and p will shoot out together. You shall leave here crippled. Do you dare to take on the challenge? Ant, the big ancient demon was thoroughly riled right now. With a massive roar, the chain he was trawling swung in the air and struck out at Lin Fan. The moment Lin Fan saw this, goosebumps rose all over his body. The void was all split apart under the swinging of the chain alone. With that, Lin Fan immediately turned tail and ran. But as he ran, he rained down insults at the same time. What big ancient demon? In the eyes of yours truly, you're nothing more than a pile of dog sh*t. If you've got guts, follow yours truly. Yours truly will teach you how to be a demon, you sh*t. How dare you insult me, you brazen ant. ... Looking at the big ancient demon chasing after that mysterious man, everyone in the imperial city could not help but heave a sigh of relief. To think that I, Zhang Han, could be able to witness a man who doesn't cower in fright in front of the big ancient demon in this life. A delegate muttered out as he watched stoned at the distance. Many other delegates nodded their heads in agreement, impressed with this man. But little did they know that for Lin Fan, this was the start of a terrible, terrible event. Translator's thoughts. Lamb, haha, to think that Lin Fan would actually do it. Righteous MC is righteous. Okay, author's notes. Guys, I know that I've got readers who have been commenting begrudgingly recently. I've read it and have been reflecting on myself. I'll definitely improve on the plotline from now on. Thank you for your continuous support. I agree in a sense that the story has been a little draggy at times recently, without the same flair that it had at some moments. But I have faith and hope that the author will do us justice. Hopefully you guys have the same faith as me. Cheers. Chapter 367. Do you dare to give me a few minutes? Chapter 367. Do you dare to give me a few minutes? Boom. The earth rippled, and the ground collapsed, while a massive force was erupting from behind Lin Fan. After putting on a show of perfect bullshit, Lin Fan was now chased hot on his heels by the big ancient demon. Little demon, don't you dare be insolent. Lin Fan had thoroughly experienced how strong this big ancient demon was. Even though the big ancient demon did not have any energy grid line chains of his own, his power level was still shockingly heaven-defying. Thank goodness this big ancient demon did not have any energy grid line chains as well though. Otherwise, what fight was there to even put up? Lin Fan might as well have just surrendered right then. But still, Lin Fan was lamenting over the fact that even his invincible eternal arm was not a match for that ancient big demon. But this still wasn't a reason to call the eternal arm weak. After all, this eternal arm was just an arm compared to the big ancient demon who was an entire entity. Three-headed and six-armed faceless sky demon, go disturb him. Appearing in the skies, the faceless sky demon floated nimbly, slashing out towards the big ancient demon. But the moment the faceless sky demon approached the ancient big demon, an invisible fighting will rip the faceless sky demon apart like a shredder. Scary. This was extremely horrifying. To think that the mighty faceless sky demon would disintegrate without even touching the other party. Seemed like the big ancient demon was ruler of the demons indeed. That fighting will alone was a killing machine which did not allow anyone close to it. Not good. Suddenly, Lin Fan felt a devastating energy surging towards him from the back. With a palm strike, the big ancient demon's energy seemed to have pierced through the entire world towards Lin Fan. Don't you dare go overboard. With a holler, Lin Fan turned around and blocked with both hands. Bam! The massive force coursed through Lin Fan's body as this unstoppable energy surged through his entire body. Boom! Bloody hell, he's going at it for real. Like a bullet, Lin Fan's body smashed through countless mountain peaks before finally being buried deep within one. Ugh! He wiped the blood that was spurting from the side of his mouth. All the bones in his body seemed to have turned into dust. Blood Sea started churning and working hard to repair these injuries. Ding! Eternal immortality experience points plus 600 million feet. Lin Fan had already expected this spike in experience points, but still, he knew that he couldn't just take blows like these as and when he liked. Boom! A gigantic explosion boomed out as the big ancient demon's massive body landed amongst the mountains. This colossal force caused all the mountains nearby to be shattered to dust. Stealth. Lin Fan entered stealth mode. It had been a long time since he last used this skill. But it was a pity that even Lin Fan did not dare to say that he had the confidence of taking down this big ancient demon. Floating in the skies above the mountainous valleys, he looked down at the big ancient demon who was busy looking for him and grinned. Seemed like he really took on a big shit this time around. Well for him, to leave right now without bothering about anything was a simple task to do. But the main point was, if he left, who knew how many people would be killed by this big ancient demon in return. After destroying all the nearby mountains, the big ancient demon stood there without budging an inch, somewhat puzzled over the disappearance of that ant. Should he use the 9-5 legendary brick to give it a good knock on the head? Well, no harm giving it a try, right? Lin Fan then took out the legendary weapon and crept towards the big ancient demon. It had been a long time since Lin Fan has used sneak attacks. But still, he could not deny its efficiency. Looking at the wide-open and defenseless head of the big ancient demon before him, Lin Fan's heart skipped a beat. Little demon, today, yours truly shall let you know the power of a brick. Lin Fan did not dare to make any big movements. Even when he was creeping up, he took slow, wary steps. Lin Fan did not know how sensitive this big ancient demon was. If there were big movements, he might even be alerted through the motion of the wind. As for putting this guy into the heaven and earth smelt, that was a thought he dared not even think. If he wanted to do that, he would have to enter the smelt with this thing. But getting in was one thing. Getting out, that was probably impossible. And even if they wanted to compete in tolerating the smelt like before, there was this thing's physical body state to consider. Lin Fan wondered if he could truly outlast this big ancient demon. As he approached the big ancient demon, Lin Fan's eyes flashed coldly. The 9-5 legendary brick in his hand smacked right down harshly on the back of the demon's head. But suddenly, Lin Fan felt a death aura shooting at him. Not good. He bolted backward immediately, looking at the scene before him cautiously. Indeed, this big ancient demon was not that easy to deal with. If he had only hesitated slightly moments earlier, he would have been dead right now, pierced by the spikes that extended suddenly out of the back of the demon's head. "Ant, you dare to try to sneak an attack on me? That's definitely worthy of death." The demon turned around suddenly, its purple eyes staring at Lin Fan, who was floating in the air as he let out a malicious growl. "Don't you dare be so insolent. Ant here, ant there. Oh, how about you look at how strong you are then? Chasing yours truly for so long, but yet yours truly is still here alive and well. And you're proud of that?" Lin Fan pointed at the big ancient demon's nose and lashed out. This thing was too bloody formidable. To think that even his sneak attack would fail to work. The difference in their cultivation states were simply too great. He must have been discovered out the moment he struck out. "Do you dare to stand here for a few minutes to wait for yours truly to use my ultimate skill and wallop the shit out of you? Don't tell me you don't dare to," Lin Fan remarked immediately. Ever since he came to this world, Lin Fan discovered that there were a number of people with mental issues and low IQs. Well, evidently, there were people who were lower than others. Thinking back of his two beloved senior brothers who had died, well, they didn't really have that high of an IQ. If their IQ were higher, they would have realized the meaning of, where there's life, there's hope. But towards his own IQ, Lin Fan discovered that it was normal at times and pretty low at others. For example, when he was with his two beloved senior brothers, his IQ was evidently lower as well. Otherwise, he wouldn't have harbored thoughts of staying behind to accompany them in Saint Devil sect. Haha, I've championed across the entire universe, battling every single bit of heaven and earth. There's nothing in this world that I would fear. Now that I'm standing here, I would want to see what an ant like you can do." The big ancient demon hollered out in disdain. He had wanted to smash this ant with a single fist, but to think that this ant would dare to taunt him instead. Intolerable. The massive body was imposing with a fighting will that shot up to the skies. He was like a god of war that was stepping over everyone else. "Good, yours truly gives you the respect that you're a man at least." Nodding his head, Lin Fan clapped his hand as the eternal donger appeared in the skies. Lin Fan was floating above the eternal donger. Focusing his face, a flame appeared on his right palm. Pills through thought appeared as he tossed a large amount of herbs within it. Suddenly, Bigris shot out one by one into the eternal donger. The eternal donger jerked non-stop. With white light erupting, multiple miniature eternal dongers appeared in the sky. "All of you, go crazy." With a flick of his robes, Lin Fan tossed another wave of Bigris into the sky, which were then absorbed by those miniature eternal dongers. By now, Lin Fan could be considered to have tossed out everything. As those mini dongers spread out their powers channeling towards the eternal donger, Lin Fan did not rest as well. With a true Origin's crushing kick, he kicked down harshly onto the eternal donger. Oh, but this was not over just yet. Split. Suddenly, Lin Fan's true energy burst out as countless Lin Fans made out of true energy appeared in front of all the mini dongers. Following this, all of these Lin Fans gave the mini dongers a good kicking together. Bam! A boundless aura shot out across the entire skies. Ha, how now, do you dare to take it? Lin Fan laughed maniacally at the demon. What do I fear? With my mouth, I shall swallow everything in this world. The big ancient demon's face was calm as he spread open that huge mouth. Demonic energy gathered in his mouth as though they were sucking out at everything in this world. Looking at it, Lin Fan was stunned. This guy, how could he do this? To think that he wanted everything to come inside his mouth. Translator's thoughts. Lamb. Ha. The thought of multiple Lin Fans appeared just had me roaring in laughter. I swear even though they're similar in moves, every new event still has me looking forward to their nuances and the likes. Chapter 368. Fight if you're indignant, who's afraid of whom? Chapter 368. Fight if you're indignant, who's afraid of whom? By now, the Eternal Donger was wielding a power that Lin Fan had never felt before. But even so, he did not have the utmost confidence in it being enough. Too calm. The big ancient demon's face was way too calm. Under a situation like this, the only reason why he could be this calm must be because he couldn't be bothered by this at all. But no matter what, this was the strongest move that Lin Fan could employ right now. If this failed, then he would be truly out of options. And, is this your strongest move? Even though the aura being emanated is pretty decent, it's far from ever being enough. I am the ruler who had conquered over the ancient times. I will fulfill what I've promised, so that you can die without any hope left. The big ancient demon looked up at the sky. His face was arrogant, without a single hint of fear. Even though Lin Fan had no reaction, he was filled to the brim with anger against this big ancient demon's impudence. This guy was being way too cocky. How dare he be even cockier than yours truly by so many times? Even if he weren't a match for this guy, Lin Fan had to teach him a good lesson. The Eternal Donger was still channeling. This energy that was churning right now was something that Lin Fan had never ever experienced. Even the Eternal Arm might not be able to withstand this shot that was about to come. By now, Lin Fan had already made use of Bigra to its best extent. Coupled with the Eternal Donger, the power that could erupt from this was definitely limitless. Take on yours truly's ultimate skill. Shoot, squirt. The heavens and earth shuddered as a thick, white beam of light shot out from the entrance of the Eternal Donger. This white beam of light pierced through the void layer by layer, causing the entire sky to vibrate non-stop. This was the strongest move that Lin Fan could produce right now. A devastating move that could destroy the heaven and earth. Lin Fan looked at the big ancient demon. He had to see just how this demon was going to block this. Even though the Eternal Donger wasn't exactly that presentable, the force that it could exert was definitely something not to be underestimated. The origin of life. This was something that was no joke. An ant is an ant indeed. With just this amount of power, you dare to provoke me. If not for the fact that dozens of thousands of years of hibernation has caused me to lose a large portion of my strength, I could take apart this amount of energy with just a single puff of breath. Looking at the white shot, the big ancient demon wasn't frantic in the least. He was exceptionally calm. Roar. Letting out a wild roar, all the black scales on his body shone brightly. Seemingly coming to life, the runic symbols and markings on his arm let out a heart-stopping aura. Opening his razor-sharp fingers, those incredible black scales began to line his palm. Slapping out, he caught the entire white shot with the palm of his hands. Looking at this, Lin Fan's heart could not help but leap with slight joy. At the same time, he heaved out a sigh of relief. If it were truly as he had mentioned himself and this big ancient demon did swallow the entire shot with just a single breath or his mouth, then Lin Fan knew that there was no way he could definitely take down this demon. But by the looks of it, this big ancient demon was just putting on a strong front. Eventually, he had to take out some real power to block the shot with his palm. Based on the current situation, the Eternal Donger was definitely not enough to destroy the other party. But even then, there was hope. HMPH, go and die. With a loud holler, the demonic energy within the palm of the demon expanded out and contained the white shot beam within it. Lin Fan frowned, sensing something amiss. He then hurriedly face-shifted out and kept the Eternal Donger within his storage. Ha, what else have you got? It's my turn now. The big ancient demon laughed coldly and stared at Lin Fan. Suddenly, Lin Fan could feel the demonic aura locking onto him. This big ancient demon was no fool. He must have figured out that Lin Fan had some way to conceal himself. Now that he was locked and rooted by this demonic aura, there was nowhere Lin Fan could escape to. Lin Fan breathed heavily and wiped the sweat from his forehead. This fellow was troublesome to deal with indeed. But even then, so what? At most, he'd just have to fight with everything he had got. Bloody hell, yours truly will see today just how overbearing you can get. Lin Fan hollered out at the big ancient demon. Craft weapon, craft. Lin Fan took out everything he had obtained from Chen Zan's body and tossed it all within the heaven and earth smelt. With his current crafting skills, the defensive armor he crafted would definitely be able to reign over this world. Ding, congratulations on crafting heaven-graded upper armor. Please name it. Demon Killer 1 foot. Ding, congratulations on crafting heaven-graded upper armor. Please name it. Demon Killer 2 feet. Ding, congratulations on crafting heaven-graded upper armor. Please name it. Demon Killer 30 feet. Lin Fan's mouth curled. Seemed like it was not so simple to craft out a legendary armor after all. Everything had to depend on luck. In the blink of an eye, 30 heaven-graded upper armors appeared out of the smelt. Lin Fan was prepared to fight this guy to the death. Even if he couldn't kill it, he would exhaust it to death. If anyone from any sect within Dongling continent knew that Lin Fan had crafted 30 heaven-graded upper armors in the blink of an eye, all of them would definitely die right now puking out blood. The sub-professions of cultivation pills and crafting armor were all child's play to Lin Fan. With the eternal immortality, Lin Fan did not feel like he had ever needed any protective armor. But by the looks of things right now, it might not be possible for him to tank through everything with just the eternal immortality. If this big ancient demon were to come out with something formidably vicious, even the Blood Sea might not be able to heal him up after it. Lin Fan looked at the demon straight into his eyes. FCK your mother. Come at me if you've got guts. It's been a long time since yours truly cussed like this. Today, all of these shall be tossed at you. Lin Fan roared out. You dumb FCK. You retard. You moron. You exhibitionist. You silly bird. Ant, how dare you. Suddenly, a devastating strike broke through the void. Lin Fan took in a deep breath. The thing about cultivation was that it wasn't entirely dependent on potential. Sometimes it was also about courage. And right now, he was about to face this big ancient demon head-on. Against this oncoming fist, Lin Fan had gathered up all his courage. With so many pieces of armors, would yours truly fear being beaten to death by it? It'd be painful at the most, wouldn't it? But yours truly isn't afraid of pain. Bam! Like the size of an ant for an elephant, Lin Fan's fist collided head-on with that colossal fist that covered the entire sky. The entire sky seemed to be ripped apart due to the resultant force of this massive clash. Holy! Against this massive force, Lin Fan felt like he was about to crumble as he was sent flying immediately by the punch. He spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. The armor he was wearing on his body shattered instantly. Even taking just a portion of the strike's power was enough to have Lin Fan feeling extremely miserable. Ding! Eternal immortality experience points plus 600 million feet. After flying for God knew how long, Lin Fan finally found himself embedded in a deep trench once more. His entire skeleton felt like it was turned into dust. In fact, a white bone was jabbing out of his body into the air. So strong. Struggling tremendously, Lin Fan managed to pick himself up. Using a finger, he snapped the white protruding bone away cleanly. Gulping down a number of pills, he churned out Blood Sea once more. His bone regenerated along with the injuries of his body. Thankfully, he had learned Blood Sea. Otherwise, even with eternal immortality, he would definitely be killed by this big ancient demon. But with this battle, even his life force would definitely be whittled down by a significant amount. He wondered how long more the mythical parasol tree could hold on. Boom! The massive figure of the big ancient demon crashed down and landed right beside Lin Fan. The monstrous impact of his landing caused the surrounding ground to crack, creating deep trenches in all directions. Ant, to think that you're still alive. But it's alright, you can die now. Looking down at this ant lying in the deep trench, the big ancient demon called out. Die your mother. You think that cotton candy-like punch of yours can kill anybody? Lin Fan lashed back defiantly. With the previous experiment, he knew that even if he wouldn't die from wearing a single piece of armor, he had to better wear 2 pieces now for insurance. Once again, the massive fist of the big ancient demon came pummeling with limitless power. Oh, just fight if you're unhappy. Who's afraid of whom? With that, Lin Fan threw out his fist to collide once more. Boom! A gigantic typhoon hurled out from the center of their collision's impact. It rose massively, causing ripples all around that spread out in all directions, rippling the entire heaven and earth. Once again unable to withstand this massive oncoming force, Lin Fan's body flew off into the distance once more. The 2 armors he was wearing now shattered instantly as well. This was probably the most wasteful way of using armors that the entire Dongling continent had ever seen. Ding. Eternal immortality experience points plus 600 million feet. Ding. Congratulations on eternal immortality leveling up. Level 7. Pity that his physical body state did not level up still. Chapter 369. Borrowing this to break the barrier. Chapter 369. Borrowing this to break the barrier. Doran sect was a small sect in Dongling continent, a sect which couldn't be recognized no matter what. However, even a small sect could find enjoyment within itself. They didn't have much of a clue about everything that was happening within the Dongling continent right now. They didn't put much heart into the voice of the heavens. They knew that they were too weak to offer any help even if they sent their entire sect there together. In front of the big ancient demon, all of them would be nothing but cannon fodder. But today, Doran sect was bustling with excitement. The 23rd selection test for their inner sect disciples had begun, and one of them was especially dazzling in particular. This person was a genius disciple which Doran sect had never seen before in 100 years. Inner sect disciple first place, Qin Yang. At this, the entire Doran sect broke into cheers. The position of the big senior brother of the inner sect had been decided. Qin Yang waved his hand with a look of excitement. Right now, he was the strongest inner sect disciple of Doran sect. For the past 18 years, he had been training hard relentlessly till he was a paracelestial full cultivation being. Even though Doran sect was a small sect, Qin Yang knew that his fighting strength was comparable to even those genius disciples of the major sects. The Grand Master of Doran sect was feeling especially heartened. Finally, Doran sect had produced a genius disciple after 100 years. He had high hopes for the future that this disciple would definitely glorify Doran sect, allowing them to be recognized as a major sect. Glory be to Senior Brother Qin. Senior Brother Qin is the best. Doran sect is the best. Receiving the cheers and adoration of his fellow junior brothers, Qin Yang had high hopes for the future as well. Boom! Suddenly, an explosion rang out across the skies. A body bolted down like a bullet, crashing with tremendous impact onto the fighting ring. The large fighting ring now had a deep hole dug in the center. Bloody hell, that stings. Lin Fan grumbled out while spitting out blood. Along the way, he had exchanged countless punches with the big ancient demon. Because of that, he had found himself flying left and right across the entire skies. Right now, he didn't even know where he had been sent flying off to. Blood Sea was working hard at rejuvenating his body. At the same time, he was tossing multiple precious pills into his mouth, boosting the speed of his recovery. Who are you? Who's there? Lin Fan suddenly heard voices around him. Looking around, he was stunned. Why the hell was he sent flying here? Lin Fan stood up and looked at everyone around him. What sort of desolate place was this? And why was there even a sect right here? What a tragedy this was. Hurry up and leave or all of you will die here, he said while wiping off the blood at the side of his mouth. November LBJNN. Hey brother, are you being chased by someone for your life? Do not fear, this is Doran sect. You're definitely safe here. Qin Yang patted his chest confidently. The man before him looked to be the same age as him. Hence, he didn't really fear the person who was chasing after this man's life. After all, he was a genius disciple that the sect had never seen in the past 100 years. Looking at this man who had fallen from the skies, all the surrounding disciples stepped back a few steps. This man looked really pitiful from the state of his tattered clothes. It's too late. Looking at the big ancient demon who had chased over from the distance, Lin Fan shook his head helplessly. Boom! Like a gigantic mountain, the big ancient demon crashed down. When it landed, the shockwave that it produced destroyed a good half of Doran sect's structures. Looking at this colossal rock-like mountain-like demon before them, everyone from Doran sect were completely dumbfounded. Ant, seems like you've got a stubborn life The big ancient demon opened his mouth. He was now pretty excited that this ant could trade a few punches with him. Lin Fan grit his teeth. He couldn't let these disciples nearby suffer needlessly. Leaping up, he shouted, "Take a punch from your granddaddy." Looking at this ant, the big ancient demon laughed malevolently. "I do have to see just how many punches you can withstand." Bam! As the punches clashed with one another once more, a powerful shockwave rippled out in all directions, causing the entire ground to shudder tremendously. Every single remaining building of Doran sect collapsed under this shockwave. Just what sort of force is that? Looking at the sight before them, everyone from Doran sect were completely stupefied. Qin Yang dropped to his knees on the ground, looking at the man in the sky. Thinking back at the words he had muttered earlier on, he was completely dazed right now. Bloody sh*t. I'm gonna fly again. Lin Fan could feel the energy surging through his body once more as his blood rose up. The heaven-graded upper armor disintegrated once more. This was his 10th set. Ding! Eternal immortality experience points plus 600 million feet. Boom! Lin Fan was sent flying by a fist once more. The big ancient demon looked down at the ants below. This mighty body of his and those purple eyes which were hidden far up in the clouds were shining through enough to have everyone from Doran's sect sitting on the ground crippled. They had no heart to even resist this. HMPH. The big ancient demon could not even be bothered by these ants as he darted in the direction that Lin Fan was sent flying. The moment he left, everyone from Doran's sect let out a sigh of relief. Initially confident, Qin Yang no longer had any shred of that left. How could this be? How could there be so many perverted shishts? Driven to bring Doran's sect to greater heights, Qin Yang was now entirely crushed by reality. Lin Fan did not know where he was right now. Crossing mountains and ridges, the seas, desert. All of these were scenes he had seen while flying. Was the big ancient demon bent on sending him on a round tour of the Dongling continent? Lin Fan checked on his mythical parasol tree, wondering if it could still sustain after all these bashings. But to the mythical parasol tree, this was pretty tragic indeed. Before Lin Fan could repair his body, the big ancient demon had appeared right before him. Such speed. Lin Fan was having a splitting headache right now. This big ancient demon was simply way too sick. He was simply leaving no chance at all. But Lin Fan did not have a single grudge against this. It was in his greatest wishes for eternal immortality to level up. Even though the bashings were kinda painful, it would all be worthwhile. You little fella, don't you dare be impertinent. Yours truly have long said that your punches are like cotton candy. Look, how many punches have you thrown at yours truly? But still, yours truly is lively like a dragon right now. Lin Fan pointed at the big ancient demon and lashed out. HMPH, ant. With a loud roar, a fist pummeled down from the sky once more. Looking at that, Lin Fan frowned as he stood where he was, throwing back a punch in return. Bam! A powerful force burst out into the surroundings. Lin Fan's legs sank right into the ground. Under that devastating punch, the entire ground split and collapsed, and his armor broke. Lin Fan could only feel his entire body as though it was shattering. Ding! Eternal immortality experience points plus 700 million feet. Ding! Eternal immortality level up, level 8. Ding! Physical body state. Greater celestial full cultivation. Lying in the deep trench, Lin Fan's face glowed with joy. His physical body state had finally leveled up. But just then, Lin Fan could feel a mysterious barrier from the void. This was a barrier that prevented one's cultivation base from going further. But in front of the system, this barrier was as good as a piece of paper. No one could stop yours truly from leveling indefinitely. A warm feeling surged through Lin Fan's body. The wounds no longer required blood to heal up as well. The warm, soothing feeling rejuvenated every single wound he had. Ha! Gripping his fists tightly, Lin Fan leapt out of the hole. Come on, yours truly awaits you. Lin Fan hollered. His fighting intent was bursting out right now as well. He wanted to borrow this demon's strength to break through the invisible barrier. Looking at this ant before him, even the big ancient demon could not help but feel a sense of incredulity. Since when had his fists gone so weak that he couldn't even kill off a single ant? Translator's thoughts. Lamb. Are we reaching the turning point of this novel once more? Will Lin Fan finally get back to Kangling Continent and seek revenge soon? What about Glory Sect? What about everyone else? How are things going to go on? I'm filled with so much mysteries that I can't wait to solve. Chapter 370. Never should have existed in this era. Chapter 370. Never should have existed in this era. Ant, you have successfully riled me. The grim voice of the big ancient demon boomed out across the sky. Those purple eyes shone with a cold and cruel light. Lin Fan's face crumpled up. The aura of the demon seemed to be changing. Is this guy going to go at it for real now? Lin Fan looked up at the big ancient demon. Just this colossal body alone was enough to force nearly everything in this world into submission. The big ancient demon lived up to his name indeed. Just what sort of existence was this ancient thing all about? Why did everything that had a relationship to anything ancient turn so bloody sick? While Lin Fan was contemplating all this, a violent aura erupted out of the big ancient demon. Demon skies. The voice of the big ancient demon was extremely solemn right now. Raising his fist, the skies were filled with boundless demonic powers, way stronger than it was before. Ant, I no longer have the patience to fool around with you. You can die off completely under this one punch of mine. The big ancient demon hollered out. A formidable force descended from the heavens. It was a repressing aura, so strong that Lin Fan could hardly breathe at all. Heaven and earth smelt. In that instant, Lin Fan tossed every single thing he could smelt into the heaven and earth smelt. Ding, congratulations on crafting heaven-graded upper armor. 20 pieces. Lin Fan did not dare to be careless in front of this punch. He had not expected that those punches that the big ancient demon had thrown out earlier on were not his strongest. He covered his body with all 30 pieces of heaven-graded upper armors. By now, Lin Fan was breathing and huffing heavily. Life and death was only a matter of chance. Whether or not the barrier can be broken depends on this now. Come at me. Looking up the skies, Lin Fan strut out his chest, fearing nothing as he looked at the descending strike. As the mighty punch of the big ancient demon glided through the void, it seemed to be containing the whole void within it as it came down. Before the punch even arrived, all the ground below was crumbling and cracking from the tremendous force that it was bringing. Lin Fan gripped his fist tightly with a fiery fighting will scorching his eyes. Dragon King's hegemony. Increase. His right arm's power burst up massively as well, reaching its peak status. Who's afraid of whom? With a single determined roar, Lin Fan leapt up and faced the incoming punch with one of his own. Boom. Suddenly, the heavens and earth seemed to have gone silent. The void was distorted, and the heavens and earth were empty, as though everything had turned into nothingness. A titanic shockwave surged out in all directions. Everything in the radius of 1,000 miles was affected by this resultant shockwave, crushing mountains and rivers, causing everything to turn upside down. Bam! The fist of the big ancient demon merely stopped for a moment before it surpassed everything after that. Lin Fan's figure disappeared from the entire heavens and earth as well. Millions of feet below the ground, Lin Fan's body laid there lifelessly. His body was torn up beyond description. With just that punch alone, all 30 pieces of armor were shattered, and still they could not block out the damage from Lin Fan. Ugh! Laying down below, Lin Fan puked out blood by the gallons. Bloody hell, that's simply too strong. If not for the protection of the 30 pieces of armor, I may already be dead right now. Lying there, Lin Fan was feeling the fear from the aftermath right now. Quivering, he took a look at the state his body was in right now. Half of his body was entirely gone, and the rest was just a mess of blood and flesh, with white bones sticking out all around. Even though Blood Sea was heaven-defying, its effects were only limited under conditions as such as it slowly tried to heal up Lin Fan's body. Ding! Eternal immortality experience points plus 3,500,000,000 feet. Shit, just that bit more. Listening to the notification from the system, Lin Fan was exasperated as well. Cultivate pills. A large number of precious herbs flew into the flame, after which, the healing pills came out in a stream as though they were free, and flew into Lin Fan's tummy. A warm, soothing energy coursed through Lin Fan's body, rejuvenating him. At the same time, the mythical parasol tree was giving out a massive amount of life force, trying to heal up Lin Fan. But Lin Fan could sense that something was wrong. The mythical parasol tree had reached the limit of its life force. After all, this was just a seedling. Even though its powers were heavenly defying, its life force was still not unlimited. Under intense circumstances as such, the mythical parasol tree was using up its resources dry. This really hurts yours truly, man. Gritting his teeth, Lin Fan breathed in a few breaths of cold air. The pain was almost similar to him being smelted within the heaven and earth smelt right now. You bloody B****, just wait. Once I'm done healing, yours truly will take you down mercilessly. Struggling to raise his head, Lin Fan muttered out down in his deep trench underground. What's that light? Just then, at the area where all his wounds were, Lin Fan spotted a beam of intensely bright light coming down from above. Sunlight. Lin Fan was shocked, somewhat in disbelief. His face then changed altogether. FCK, you're totally not giving any chances at all, big ancient demon. Lin Fan was startled. To think that this big ancient demon would know that he was still alive and sent down yet another punch towards him. That mighty force penetrated everything else and shot down towards him. Bloody FCK, Lin Fan was cursing in his heart. This big ancient demon was simply way too ruthless. Yours truly isn't someone who will die that easily. ... Above the ground, the big ancient demon stood there and laughed out coldly. This ant has finally died. But, I have to give it to him that he's got some substance. However, in front of me, everyone's nothing but trash. And just then, the big ancient demon raised his head and looked into the distance. Here comes another bunch of ants. Far in the distance, fleets of battle arcs were floating towards him from the distance. Glory sect, function sect, Tai sect, Xuanyang sect, rock sect, ... Dozens of the top sects were all gathered together. The big ancient demon was far from ordinary. Within the records of these top sects, it was written that the big ancient demon had enough power to destroy the entire world. This was a ruler of the ancients. This was an existence that broke the barrier. But having fallen for tens of thousands of years, this big ancient demon's cultivation state should have been lowered, and he shouldn't be at his peak right now. There might be a single strand of hope as long as all these top sects were gathered and worked together. Glory sect's battle arc. Senior Elder Wuya's face was extremely grim right now. Eventually, he sighed out, I wonder how many people have to sacrifice themselves in this battle. Grand Master Yan stood there without speaking at all, but his eyes could not hide away his worries. No matter how many casualties it takes, the big ancient demon has to die. Otherwise, none of these sects will ever survive as well. The total number of disciples of Glory sect which were greater celestials and above and came this time around were 38. This was every single bit of fighting strength that Glory sect had. On the battle arc of Glory sect, Mie Changqi looked far into the distance. No one knew what he was thinking about right now. Brother Mie. Deep in his thoughts, Mie Changqi was startled into attention by this voice. He then looked at some figures that were hidden in the shadows, and his face turned grim. How are you guys here? He was astonished. He had not expected some inner sect disciples to follow along. Brother Mie, life and death is nothing. I don't want to die with humiliation. Even if I must die, I want to die in combat. Meng Hao said with a smile. Looking at all of them, Mie Changqi broke out into a smile as well. Since they were here, there was no way out now. If they won, peace would return to the world. If they lost, no one would be able to escape the ensuing annihilation anyways. Suddenly, a massive roar rang through the air as the skies changed color. All 30 battle arcs which were floating through the skies could feel the ripple of the force. Even their protective barriers were fluctuating violently. The big ancient demon's location lies up ahead. Everyone be prepared. ... This colossal big ancient demon stood upright on the world. Those purple eyes fixated at these battle arcs. Ants, I've been waiting. He said. The moment everyone caught sight of his towering figure, their hearts literally skipped a beat. Just that size of his Herculean body was enough to have the hearts of everybody freeze up in fear. But no matter what, this was an unavoidable battle. Win or face total annihilation. A big ancient demon like this shouldn't have ever existed in this era. Translator's thoughts. Lamb. Cool. Will our big brother come and save them? Well, at least save Mie Changqi please. Chapter 371, The Geniuses Strike. Chapter 371, The Geniuses Strike. 30 battle arcs floated gently in the skies. All of these powerful beings of the different sects stared at the colossal body that arched into the clouds blankly. They were at a loss for how to start their attacks. This was the first time they had seen a creature like this before. Big ancient demon. This was a ruler of the ancients. Demon Lord, these are no longer the ancient times. There's no reason for you to be awake right now. Looking at the big ancient demon, Grand Master Yan of Glory sect hollered out. Haha, a bunch of ants who are controlled by the heavens and you dare to teach me what to do. I am an existence that defies even the heavens, and have conquered over all the ancient times. Today, I shall regain my glory once more. The big ancient demon's voice boomed like a gigantic bell, causing everyone's ears to go numb. How were they supposed to fight something like this? Everyone, I implore all of you to let go of any grudges we ever had today. We have to join forces against this demon lord, or Dongling continent shall be annihilated with no one left standing. Grand Master Yan called out. And none of these words were empty scares. The big ancient demon sucked one's soul and essence blood. No one could escape from him at all. Alright, everyone, let's go. With that, all of the 30 battle arcs glowed brightly. Instantly, each of these battle arcs shot out a bright beam of their own. This was a method used to use up every single last drop of energy on the battle arcs. Since they were here to lay down their lives, there was no longer any point in keeping the battle arcs. Ants, looking at the beams that were shooting over, the big ancient demon laughed coldly. With a single slap of his hand, he blocked all of these beams with his palm. And there wasn't even a single scratch on the palm of the big ancient demon. This was the difference in their strengths. Even if the big ancient demon weren't at his peak form right now, he was still an existence that even current greater celestials could not deal with. All of you go and die. He yelled out. There were too many ants, and that was causing him to feel frustrated. A single palm strike descended from the skies at a random disciple from a random sect. His face changed as he brought out all his energy grid line chains to defend against it. But under the absolute power of the palm, the disciple still got disintegrated instantly. Looking at this scene, everyone from every single sect were visibly shaken. One by one, they unleashed their rage and paid even more attention towards their cooperation. Otherwise, there was the chance that they'd die in front of the big ancient demon in a single blow. Why are you guys here? Just then, Senior Elder Wuya caught sight of those disciples. November LBJNN. Elder, we do not wish to die sitting idly. Meng Hao replied. That's right. Jian Wudi, Lu Yan, Zhang Henshin and the others echoed in unison. Even though they weren't at a greater celestial state right now, no matter what, they did not want to just await their death. Looking at all of them, Senior Elder Wuya nodded his head eventually. He then followed behind Grand Master Yan and called out to them, all of you take care on your own. Suddenly, the skies burst out with crackling lightning. Energy grid line chains covered the entire skies. Right now, the true energy of the world was about to truly go berserk. Everyone from the different sects took out everything they had up their sleeves, not daring to withhold anything. Tribute. Rock's descent. Suddenly, a dull aura permeated the entire skies. A crack appeared on the skies suddenly, as though something frightening was about to be born from within it. Everyone, all tribute to summon the rock's help in containing this demon lord. Please grab the chance. Yes, rock sect's ultimate skill. As long as we don't die, all of the sects shall share the burden for the tribute of the rock. Looking at the massive amounts of treasures and valuables that the Grand Master of the rock sect was sacrificing, everyone's heart shuddered as well. Haha, very well then. Thank you for all your help. Every though all of these sects had their differences, these were all small little squabbles. Now that they were in the face of true danger, naturally they had to band together as one. Instantly, a gigantic rock's head began to appear slowly from the crack in the skies. HMPH, just a rock and you expect to pit yourself against me? Oh, you really don't remember who it was who destroyed your entire race during the ancient times? With a great guffaw, the big ancient demon slapped out, covering the entire skies as the claw darted out to grasp at the rock. The rock who was being summoned had no idea who it was who had summoned it initially. But at this moment, the rock finally felt the aura. This was an ancient aura. When it turned over and looked at who it was, the rock howled out in anger as though it had gone berserk. Demon Lord. Suddenly, the rock spoke in human language, causing everyone from the rock sect to turn pale in shock. They had a deep affinity with the rock, but yet they had never known that the rock could speak in human tongue. The gigantic rock was taking on the form of a big bird right now. Flapping its wings, it flew up into the skies before transforming into a gigantic leviathan. Opening its large mouth, water from the rivers of the nine skies gushed out. The nine skies river was glittering like crystals, and was surrounded by white mist. Every single drop of water seemed like a world of its own. The energy grid line chains of all the sects flew through all the voids and landed on the big ancient demon's body. But to the demon, these were nothing but the attacks of ants. With a single palm, he blocked the nine skies river as well. Rock, you dare to be so insolent in front of me? A pity that your cultivation is still too weak. The big ancient demon hooted. Suddenly, a massive amount of demonic energy surged into that palm. Flicking open his fingers, he dispersed the nine skies river entirely. For a rock that had cultivated itself to its peak, every single drop of the nine skies river was equivalent to a world of its own. But to summon a rock of that caliber, the rock sect's current core was far from enough. In fact, even 100,000s of the current rock sect was far from enough. With a single palm, the big ancient demon grabbed hold of the rock. Suddenly, the rock transformed into a bird and the mixture of yin-yang powers coiled around its body. HMPH, I've already said that your strength is far from enough. There's no need to struggle futilely. Catching hold of the rock's wings, the big ancient demon pulled. A sorrowful cry rang out across the entire world. Using his demented force, the big ancient demon ripped out the wings of the live rock. Buddha Land's descent. Suddenly, the skies turned golden. Om, Ma, Ni, Pad, Mi, Home. Like the sounds of a gigantic bell, these sounds rang out, as a vision of Buddha's land appeared from the clear sky. Lu Yan did not bother hiding and withholding anything as well. Holding on to prayer beads in front of his chest, true energy surged through his body. This was the strongest move that he could summon right now. Oh ho, to think that the ancient Buddhist monk has a successor as well. Ha ha, I'm gonna die of laughter. Looking at the illusory Buddha's land that was descending, the big ancient demon roared with laughter. Zone of the god of war. Meng Hao roared out in anger. Surging with his true energy, an illusory figure stood in the skies as well. The aura of the figure was extraordinary. Clad in golden armor, his scythe broke through the voids. Sword realm. Jian Wudi was like a peerless sword god right now. A pair of black and white swords coiled around his body as a pitch-black vortex appeared above his head. Peace, peace. One by one, ancient swords filled with sword wills broke out from the skies, stabbing the lands fully. Unkillable, indestructible. Mie Changqi's eyes flashed with boundless fighting spirit. The two energy grid line chains he had wrapped themselves around his body. A mysterious power broke out from the void and boosted Mie Changqi's body. This was the will of unkillable, indestructible, a fighting will that bypassed even the heavens. Mie Changqi and the others were not the only ones bringing out their full strength. Every last person from all the sects brought out everything as well. Haha, you're all still alive, But a pity you've all appeared far too soon. I have been through the entire ancient ages. There's nothing I would fear. Looking at Mie Changqi and the others, the big ancient demon laughed cruelly. Everything would disappear. With that, multiple sources of massive powers surged towards the big ancient demon. These were all the strongest powers that Mie Changqi and the others could summon as of now. Translator's thoughts. Lam. By the sounds of it, doesn't it seem like Mie Changqi and the others are wielding some form of powers which were inherited from the ancient past as well? Also, Om Mani Padme Hum is a chant that Buddhists use in general. Just in case you guys are confused over that portion. Cheers. Chapter 372, Whack the moment he comes out. Chapter 372, Whack the moment he comes out. Buddha's land was able to take down every single evil in this world. The Buddhist chants turned into mysterious symbols of their own as they coiled together, turning into a golden Buddhist dragon. Howling fiercely, it wrapped itself around the indestructible body of the big ancient demon. Meng Hao darted out as well. A single slash to destroy everything, this was the unrelenting will of the god of war. With a long side which slashed at everything in its way, Meng Hao cut at the big ancient demon. Haha, ants, I've already said that you guys are far from home. Today, all of you shall die. The big ancient demon howled out. Boom. Suddenly, the ground shook as the skies turned pitch black. This was not the power of energy grids. This was something far stronger than that. In front of the big ancient demon, Mie Changqi and the others were simply too weak. In the face of absolute power, all efforts were meaningless. With a single strike by the big ancient demon, everyone's figures were sent flying back. Spewing out fresh blood, all of their bodies felt like they were shattered. We're just too weak. Looking at everything before him, Lu Yan could feel the despair growing in his heart. Meng Hao wanted to stand up, but that single strike had shattered all his bones. Strong. Simply too strong. This wasn't something that they could deal with. They might have had confidence in themselves at the beginning. But at this point, Meng Hao finally understood that against the big ancient demon, all of these were just mere tickles. The rock within the big ancient demon's grasp struggled continuously, churning out the energies of both yin and yang. But to the big ancient demon, it was all useless. Haha, I was the one who had destroyed your race, rock. Once I regain my peak status, you and your kind shall disappear from the face of this world entirely. The eyes of the big ancient demon were cruel, as demonic energy filled his body. At this moment, he looked like a peerless demon that had ascended from the very depths of hell. With a tight pull, those malicious arms of his seemed to be ripping the entire sky apart. One of the 10 great beasts, the rock, was torn cleanly into two. Spurting out fresh blood from its body, its lifeless body was all that remained in the hands of the big ancient demon. The blood of the rock stained the big ancient demon. At this moment, his disposition was intimidating like never before. With a suck of his belly, the mighty, formidable rock which was now in two pieces were sucked into the tummy of this big ancient demon. When something of this power descended upon the world, no one could stop it at all. The Grand Master of the rock sect was completely dumbfounded by now. Rock. That was a real-life, living rock. That was the strongest existence in their entire sect. And right now, it just perished like it was nothing in the hands of the big ancient demon. Hey, Ant, you better keep summoning more rocks for me. The purple eyes of the big ancient demon were fixated on the Grand Master of the rock sect. You demon, the Grand Master of rock sect stumbled back a few steps in fear. They were all wrong. Even after the big ancient demon had fallen for tens of thousands of years, his revival was not something they could handle at all. Heavens, why do you send us to our deaths? Right now, the Grand Master of the Rock Sect was raging at the heavens. Heaven's will. This was all the will of the heavens. HMPH. The heavens can barely protect themselves right now, let alone you. All of you can go and die. Looking at the skies, the big ancient demon chuckled. Boom. Suddenly, the heavens and earth fell into darkness. One by one, all 30 top sects were being pushed back against this big ancient demon. There was no room for resistance. If not for the fact that they were cooperating right now, their casualties might be even greater than right now. Grand Master, what should we do? This big ancient demon is simply too strong. Our attacks have no effect on him at all. Senior Elder Wuya said. Grand Master Yan's face was grim. He too had no idea what to do. This was not an enemy they could handle at all. For ancient beings, even an ant would be way stronger than anything else in this world, let alone a demon lord of the ancient times. And just then, a bright beam of light erupted out from the skies. This rainbow-colored beam wrapped itself around everyone present. The expressions of Grand Master Yan and the others changed. Everyone could feel the changes in their bodies. Lu Yan and the others were suffering great injuries right now. But under the rainbow light of the skies, their injuries recovered rapidly. In fact, their cultivation states were rising rapidly as well. The big ancient demon looked at the changes of everyone, then up at the sky. Seems like you couldn't let them go after all, But, so what? All you can do is raise their powers temporarily. Seems like you won't be able to hold out for much longer as well, Everyone stood up and looked at the changes on themselves with extreme bewilderment. Our cultivation states, they've increased. Our injuries are all healed. What was that beam of light? Was that really the heavens that descended upon us? Everyone, prepare yourselves. This time around, we must surely stand united and take down the demon lord. That rainbow beam of light had a massive impact on everyone's morale. Lu Yan and the others looked at one another. Greater celestial full cultivation. They were only at lesser celestial and paracelestial cultivation states earlier on. But right now, their cultivation states had rocketed completely. Even if this were temporary, it still filled their hearts with immense hope. Everyone, let's go, Mie Changqi hollered. All right. The aura that erupted from these people who had their cultivation states improved were massive. It was more than 10 times stronger than before. Buddha Land's descent, Sword Realm, God of War. Everyone let loose a dazzling brilliance. The heavens and earth shattered as though it was doomsday. Everything in a radius of 1,000 miles had long been destroyed barren, where nothing could live and grow anymore. After this battle, this place would definitely be non-habitable. But against this big ancient demon, no one could have any spare thoughts for things like this. If they didn't suppress this thing, this would be a calamity for the Dongling continent. 4 hours passed. Even though the time was short in reality, it felt like years had passed for these warriors. Even with the boost of the rainbow beam, they were still no match for the big ancient demon. Bam, bam, right now, everyone from the different sects were on the brink of exhaustion. Every single bit of hope they had earlier were about to be extinguished right here. Ants, **** ants. The ferocious eyes of the big ancient demon looked down at these humans in disdain. How dare these ants be as detestable as that man just now? Grand Master, are you all right? The body of Senior Elder Wuya was almost at its limit. He coughed out mouthfuls of fresh blood one after another. To think that this battle was even more severe than the previous one for their sect's existence. Perhaps, there was truly no more hope this time left. Lin Fan. Suddenly, Senior Elder Wuya's thoughts went to that lad. But he shook his head. Even the combined strength of all these sects were no match for that thing. No matter how strong that lad was, there was no way he could be a match for this big ancient demon. It's all right, I can still hang on. Grand Master Yan was looking extremely horrible right now as well. Mie Changqi had taken the most damage to his body. But the will of unkillable indestructible supported him, allowing him to stand up time after time, no matter how much he was downed. We've tried our best. Meng Hao laid there, wounds aplenty on his body with white bones protruding. He had slashed and slashed and slashed, such that his hands were now numb with no feeling. Junior brother Lu, to think that you're this strong. I couldn't tell it all before today. Jian Wudi laid there monotonously, eyes looking at Lu Yan. Lu Yan did not reply. He just laid there silently, with many thoughts flashing through his mind. Back when he just entered the sect, that damn senior brother Lin chose a few pieces of trash over him with no foresight at all. To prove senior brother Lin wrong so that he would regret missing out on a genius like him, he had cultivated himself relentlessly. Even with this mysterious prayer beads that he had obtained, he did not take things easy because of it. Right now, Lu Yan realized how childish everything had been. But it was still a wonderful memory. Letting go of everything with no attachments, this was the one thing Lu Yan had realized at the brink of his death. If I don't enter hell, who would? Lu Yan muttered softly. What did you say, junior brother Lu? Jian Wudi was startled as he looked at Lu Yan. Lu Yan stood up expressionlessly. Placing his palms together, a bright Buddhist aura appeared before him. A step at a time, he walked towards the big ancient demon. Junior brother Lu, what are you doing? Looking at this, everyone exclaimed out in shock. But to Lu Yan, it was as though everyone's voices were shut off by a barrier. Suddenly, the mysterious prayer beads on Lu Yan's neck floated up gently before emitting a piercing golden light. An image of Buddha appeared above Lu Yan's head. The supreme Buddha of the world. Grand Master, Elder, Senior Brothers. I shall take my leave before you guys. Lu Yan stopped in his tracks before turning around and saying to everyone. HMPH, little Buddhist monk. You've laid down a lofty ambition to take me down, A pity that you're far from qualified. The big ancient demon laughed coldly. But fair enough. Since that's the case, I shall fulfill your wishes. I have to see just how strong your lofty ambition is. Suddenly, a formidable and horrifying fist slammed down from the heavens. Lu Yan stood there without happiness or fear, awaiting his final moment. Junior brother. The FCK. Who the hell dares to stand atop yours truly? Scram one side. It was as though someone was trying to burrow out from the ground below, but was blocked by Lu Yan standing above. Suddenly, a hand stretched out from beneath the ground. Grabbing Lu Yan's ankles, the arm hurled Lu Yan to one side. The FCK. As Lin Fan crawled out from below, he was stunned by the sight before him. Lin Fan was not the only one stunned. Everyone from Glory Sect were equally flabbergasted. Lin Fan, Junior Master. As for Lu Yan, who was flung aside by Lin Fan, a look of displeasure spread out from his face, B-starred. It's you again. Lin Fan had not expected to be able to see his own sect after coming out of the hole. But just then, he felt as though there was something about to hit him. Raising his head, he was exasperated at what he saw above. The FCK, yours truly have just came out, and I'm gonna get whacked again. November LBJNN. Bam, careful, everyone from Glory Sect cried out. But it was all too late. Translator's thoughts. Lamb. Ha 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 ha, I never laughed so hard at Lin Fan's appearance. Who dares stand atop yours truly? Goodness, this man please ha ha ha. Anyways, author's comments once more for you guys. It's time to write more about the side characters. After all, they will have their own stories to tell in the later stage. For now, please give me more support guys. I promise that the story will no longer have so many fillers. Promise. Ha ha ha, so there you have it. Could we finally have a linear exciting path up? We can only hope. Cheers. Peas. I fell sick yesterday. Trying my best to recover, but I may not be able to reply your comments and stuff again. Will still try my best. Sorry. Sad face. Chapter 373, Your Body. I Want It. Chapter 373, Your Body. I Want It. With that, the faces of everyone from Glory Sect turned pale immediately. No matter how strong Lin Fan was, there was no way he could possibly survive under the fist of the big ancient demon. Master. Mie Chongqi watched in a daze as he saw the deep trench that was caved in due to the big ancient demon's fist once more. He wanted so direly to get up and duke it out with the demon, but his entire body felt as though it had shattered to dust. Grand Master Yan, Senior Elder Wuya, and the others let out a look of anguish as well. Lin Fan was Glory Sect's hope. How could he just die right here? Now that their only ray of hope has been extinguished, they could only wait for death. Even though the boost of the heavens was strong, they were still far too weak in the face of the big ancient demon. Lu Yan laid there silently. He had laid down a noble wish that was destroyed by Lin Fan. And now, his only reason to continue fighting on had disappeared as well. The big ancient demon looked malevolent. His towering body stood above this world, as though he was bent on destroying everyone. A single look was enough to drain away their hopes for life. Too much. This is too much. Just as everyone was on the brink of despair, a booming voice filled the heavens and earth. This voice was filled with anger and indignation. How dare you whack me the moment I came out? Don't you have any conscience? Do you know just how much I had suffered? My mental will was almost exploding moments earlier. And just as yours truly thought he could enjoy the warmth of the world once more, you landed yet another punch on me, you little, puny, weak *s demon. Damn it. Damn it. .. As this voice rang out across the world, everyone from the other sects were bewildered, not knowing who the owner of the voice was. But to Glory Sect, this was an all too familiar voice. That was Lin Fan. He was not dead. Boom. Lin Fan, who was walloped into the ground just now, broke out from it once more as well. His figure looked ever so magnificent, so dazzling, so mighty. To everyone from Glory Sect, they felt like they had just seen the Messiah. How could this be? Just who was he? The other sects were all flabbergasted. This man could still be safe and sound after taking a punch like that from the big ancient demon. This was incredible. But to everyone from Glory Sect, no one could be more emotional than they were right now. Lin Fan, Junior Master, Master, everyone from Glory Sect screamed out at the top of their lungs. Even to Senior Elder Wuya, this magical lad was simply a walking miracle. Perhaps everyone might just be safe with him around. The moment everyone from the other sects heard Glory Sect exclaim out, they were all astonished. To think that the man who had survived the punch of the big ancient demon was a disciple of Glory Sect. Grand Master Yan, who was he? The other Grand Masters started asking one by one. Looking at everyone squarely, Grand Master Yan finally spoke up softly. He is the strongest man in our sect, as well as our final hope. The moment they heard this, they were rooted. Strongest man. Final hope. Did he really have that sort of capabilities? But why did it not seem that way at all? After all, he did look way too young. And this big ancient demon was just too strong indeed. So strong that they had lost all hope entirely. Standing in front of the big ancient demon, Lin Fan looked like nothing but the size of an ant in the eyes of the demon. Ant, you're not dead. Looking at this figure, the big ancient demon could not help but feel astonished as well. He had not seen an ant with such a stubborn life before. HMPH, kill yours truly, you ain't got what it takes, man. Lin Fan pointed his middle finger and jeered at the big ancient demon happily before turning around to the crowd. How are you guys here? Junior Master, we were led here by the heavens. They gave us directions to head here to suppress this thing or Dongling continent would face extermination. Zhang Henshin replied. Zhang Henshin did not receive any form of inheritance from any ancient powers. He got to where he was today through sheer grit and determination. With a solemn face, Lin Fan shook his head. You guys are no match for this fella here. You shouldn't have come here to sacrifice your lives for nothing. But fair enough. Now that I'm here, you're all safe. The moment everyone from Glory Sect heard this, those tumultuous hearts of theirs were eased immediately. But why did these words sound so irritating as well? After a moment, everyone broke out into bouts of laughter. This lad had not changed at all. He was still the same person he was, haha. But to the other sects, their impression of Lin Fan dipped greatly after that. Spouting nonsense all around, overly brazen. The big ancient demon was this strong. Did this lad really think that he alone could take down this big ancient demon? Even after the boost of the heavens, they were still no match for the demon. And he could be starred. Lu Yan laid on the ground motionlessly. Looking at this darned fella acting with his bullshit once more, he was filled with indignation. Everything that Lu Yan had achieved earlier about seeing through everything and letting go of all attachments was all destroyed with this one single scene. And, this time, you must die. With a loud roar, the big ancient demon sent a fist pummeling down. He was determined to crush this ant to death this time around. Careful. Looking at this massive punch of the demon, everyone was startled back to reality and screamed out in reaction. Lin Fan threw a side glance at the demon before gripping his fists tightly. Be starred, how dare you try to kill yours truly again? Do you know just how much yours truly had to go through just to try to kill you? How can you even begin to understand that sort of pain and torment and torture? You wanna fight? Yours truly will oblige. Gripping his fist, he threw out another punch to welcome the punch of the big ancient demon once more. Little Fan, don't try to go head-on with him. Senior Elder Wuya screamed at the top of his voice. The strength of the big ancient demon was simply too formidable. But just then, a shocking scene happened. Bam! As both fists collided, a boundless amount of energy erupted out from within it. Huh! The big ancient demon was wide-eyed, as though he could not believe what had just happened. How could this ant of a human have enough power to match him? How could this be? Grand Master Yan, just what is that fella? The shit, bravo, Junior Master, steady. Zhang Henshin and the others were completely astounded by now. To think that their junior master could withstand the punch of the big ancient demon with just his physical body state. That was simply too scary. Grandmaster Yan, if you had someone like this in your midst, why didn't you call him out earlier? Did you want to wait till we were all crippled before showing off how mighty Glory Sect was? Listening to these grumbles and complaints, Grandmaster Yan was at a loss for words as well. This wasn't the case. It truly wasn't. Lin Fan's mouth curled into a cold grin at this moment. Even though his physical body state had already broken through the barrier, he was still no match for the power level of the big ancient demon. But humans didn't just know how to cultivate. The edge that mankind had was a thing called brain. Using 5 pieces of heaven-graded upper armor to take away some of the power from the punches, he could absorb the rest of it with his body. Ding! Eternal immortality experience points plus 400 million feet. ... Lin Fan stood where he was firmly. He wasn't sent flying like how he was before. Big ancient demon, your punches are now neither painful nor ticklish to yours truly. Using a domineering gaze, Lin Fan looked at the big ancient demon before revealing a cold smile. All of this right now, every single last bit, it was all exchanged with plenty of pain of torment from yours truly. And it was all for the sake of defeating you. Big ancient demon, your body. Yours truly shall take it today. Lin Fan had now taken an eye on the body of the big ancient demon. Demon City in a palm, required some fresh new energy. Translator's thoughts. Lamb. Ha 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 ha, you guys know the part which got me laughing. Little Fan, gosh, WUYA is such a loving elder. And also, what happened to our dear MC in the pit? What? Chapter 374, a move that destroys the balance of the world. Chapter 374, a move that destroys the balance of the world. Insolent, the big ancient demon was totally riled right now. His devastating punch brought with it the power of a thunderstorm as he slammed down at Lin Fan. That pitch-black chain ripped through the skies, bringing with it a nerve-chilling aura through the skies. HMPH, you think you're the only one that's strong? Yours truly didn't grow up as a 90-pound weakling either. 100 pieces of heaven-graded upper armors have already taken away all of my net worth. Today, yours truly shall duke it out to death with you. With a maddened roar, every single punch of Lin Fan came off with a sting. This violent, tremendous force from him rippled through the entire heavens and earth. "Ant, your strength is simply far too weak." The big ancient demon howled. To think that he couldn't even kill such a weak little ant. That was a humiliation for him. Lin Fan knew that his power right now was limited. Even though his physical body state had broken through the barriers of this world, his cultivation base had yet to improve. Even if his punch had landed directly on the big ancient demon, it wouldn't have caused him any damage. But to Lin Fan, the most important thing right now was to have a blood-pumping battle. After all, how could he captivate the hearts of all these surrounding audiences if the battle wasn't heated up? Boom! The big ancient demon sent a punch pummeling down, coiled with demonic energy along with it. Showing not a single bit of fear, Lin Fan threw back another punch in retaliation. The ensuing shockwave rippled through the air. It was so mighty that the people from all the different sects could barely handle this devastating impact. Too strong. Just what sort of a beast is he? For him to be able to cultivate his physical body state as such. Goodness, Glory Sect is definitely not a sect which any other sect can deal with at all. Once this battle is over, it is clear which sect would be the number one in the entire Dongling continent for sure. Senior Elder Wuya and the others were equally dumbfounded. They had thought that Lin Fan was strong, but they had not thought that he was this strong. He was so strong that the power exuding was almost causing even them to break down. This was no longer a state achievable by a human being. A loud cracking boom rang through the skies. The color of the skies changed as the void began to rip apart. Just these views alone were beyond the imaginations of anyone's minds. Haha, big ancient demon, what capabilities do you have to take down yours truly? Lin Fan could finally experience a battle he could enjoy. Even though his strength might not be able to deal even a single bit of damage onto the big ancient demon, just the feeling of landing punches after punches was exhilarating enough for him. Breaking through the barrier of physical body state, that was an extremely great feeling. While every punch he received would cause 5 heaven-graded upper armors to shatter, this was all worthwhile to Lin Fan. Physical body state. Imperishable lower-level state. This was a mysterious and magical cultivation state which had Lin Fan experiencing all sorts of boundless benefits from it. This was no longer a cultivation state that existed within Dongling continent. Even if Lin Fan were to stand still where he was right now and take in all the attacks of every single last sect in Dongling continent, none of it would cause him any damage. In order to break through this barrier of the heavens, Lin Fan had gritted his teeth and thrown himself within the heaven and earth smelt. That tormentous ordeal had finally returned its rewards. Boom! A fist flew open. Floating gently in the air, Lin Fan looked at that totally unharmed big ancient demon and frowned. This situation couldn't carry on like this. He had to think up of a way to take down this guy. The big ancient demon was worthy of his title indeed. Not only was his physical body state stronger than Lin Fan himself, even his power level was far superior. And, even though I don't know what you did to make your physical body state this strong, but enough is enough. I've played enough with you. The big ancient demon glared at Lin Fan. Through the body of this ant, he could feel the very same feeling of those darned B***stars he had to deal with back in the ancient times. While everyone was shocked by the battle between Lin Fan and the big ancient demon, they could also tell that the big ancient demon wasn't taking any damage. Seemed like it was way too difficult to take down this demon after all. Lin Fan did not reply. His brain had been tinkering all this while. In order to kill this big ancient demon, the only way to do so might be to drag him within the heaven and earth smelt. But even though his physical body state right now was at imperishable, this did not mean that the big ancient demon's physical body state would be weaker than this. November LBJNN. No, wait, there was another way. Suddenly, Lin Fan started laughing. As time went by, his laughter only grew in volume. Ha 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 ha, he laughed wildly. He had finally thought of a way. Ant, what are you laughing at? The big ancient demon hollered. This imposing voice rang through the entire skies, causing everyone's hearts to skip a beat. Big ancient demon, are you a male or a female? Lin Fan asked. All the Grandmasters were stumped by this question right now. How could he ask the other party if he were male or female at this juncture? Wasn't he just courting death? Anyone with eyes could evidently see that massive junk below. Ant, how dare you try to humiliate me? I'm an ancient overlord. The big ancient demon was totally riled. How dare this puny ant humiliate him as such? How could he tolerate such brazen behavior? Seems like you're a male then. But fair enough. How would you like to experience what it's like to be a female big ancient demon? Lin Fan beamed widely. In a swift motion, all the Grandmasters turned their gazes towards Grandmaster Yan, as though implying, this person from your sect, is there anything wrong with his brains? Looking at the gazes of everyone, Grandmaster Yan lowered his head in embarrassment, as though this was a really difficult question to answer. Just what are you trying to do, Lin Fan? B***starred ant. The big ancient demon slammed down with his palm, determined to crush this ant to death. HMPH. Seems like your embarrassment has turned into rage. Yours truly will let you understand today what it means to die from menorrhagia. With a determined face, Lin Fan flew towards the big ancient demon. His agile frame dodged the fist of the big ancient demon. Wasn't this the direst moment to employ something like this? The big ancient demon's body was simply too huge. This might perhaps be his only vital weakness in his entire body. Running on the body of the big ancient demon, Lin Fan sprinted towards his crotch area. Ant, looking at how defiant this ant was being, the big ancient demon unleashed boundless authority. His titanic palm slammed down towards Lin Fan once more. Boom! Lin Fan did not even budge a single inch. Using his left hand to defend against the strike of the big ancient demon, his eyes were on the prize. There it was. The big ancient demon's PP life source. Just what is Junior Master Lin doing? Looking over, Zhang Henshin and the others wondered what their Junior Master Lin was up to. Male or female, what difference did that make? Senior Elder Wuya and the others frowned, unable to understand what Lin Fan was pulling as well. But he firmly believed that this lad must have thought up of something good. Everyone, give him a hand. Senior Elder Wuya called out. Yes, everyone nodded their heads. Even though they did not know what was happening, they had already placed every single last bit of hope on this lad anyways. Energy grid line chains. Suddenly, the heavens shook as one by one, energy grid line chains extended out from the voids. The sky was covered with energy grid line chains as they coiled with one another. With the combination of all these energy grid line chains, they fused together to form two gigantic energy grid line chains. Agile like snakes, they coiled themselves around the arm of the big ancient demon, restricting its movement. Good job. Looking at this, Lin Fan exclaimed out gleefully. He then increased his speed. Whether or not this succeeded would depend on this. And if even this failed, then he would just have to throw his life at this thing to its end. Looking at these energy grid line chains on his arm, the big ancient demon howled in anger. Those mysterious runes and symbols on his arm glowed brightly, trying to shake off the tight grasp of these energy grid line chains. B** stards, ants, all of you F***king deserve death. With a massive yell, the energy grid line chains on his arm began to break down. Ugh! Everyone from the different sects began coughing out blood. This was the aftermath. The destruction of their energy grid line chains caused them to suffer damage to their bodies as well. Taking in a deep breath, Lin Fan focused his gaze on that massive junk at the crotch of the big ancient demon. Breaking free of these energy grid line chains, the big ancient demon came at Lin Fan. "Ant, go to hell!" he hollered out furiously. The energy that was erupting out seemed to be extremely devastating. HMPH, we'll see WHO dies first. With a single scream, Lin Fan leapt towards the crotch area. Twisting heaven and earth, ice and fire two heavens. Coupled with his twisting heaven and earth, the fire and water energy grid line chains infused in his left arm unleashed a mysterious energy. This was the way of interchanging yin and yang. Ever since he used it once in Kangling continent, Lin Fan had never used twisting heaven and earth ever again. Lin Fan felt that this destroyed the natural harmony of the balance of the world. But a pity, this big ancient demon asked for it. Boom! A vanquishing beam of light covered the entire world, blinding everyone from seeing what was happening. But in that instant, a high-pitched shriek rang through the heavens. Translator's thoughts. Lamb lamb, ha ha ha, I was thinking that was the weapon he had in his arsenal right now. But I thought he would be saving it for a natural female enemy. Why know what I mean, guys? I totally did not expect him to use twisting heaven and earth to use that. Ha 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 ha, oh gosh, this chapter please. Chapter 375, Spewing Blood Out of Excitement. Chapter 375, Spewing Blood Out of Excitement. Just what in the world happened? That shriek, what's going on around here? That dazzling brilliance filled the entire world, blinding everyone. That was a sign of power at its peak. The accompanying shriek was ever more tragic. In fact, there was even sorrow within it, as though it had undergone some form of tormenting hardship. When the light faded away, everyone raised their heads to find a figure standing mighty tall. That was Lin Fan, and the thing that shocked them the most was that the colossal, imposing big ancient demon was now kneeling on the ground, howling wildly. "Ah, Ant, what have you done to me?" The big ancient demon felt that something about him had changed, but it was hard to use words to describe this change. A gentle melancholic feeling was spreading through his heart, and accompanying it was a wave of pain. Ding, twisting heaven and earth experience points plus 100 million. Ding, twisting heaven and earth leveled up. LVL 18. Lin Fan did not reply, his expression solemn. Even though it was a little awkward, but it had all succeeded in the end. Honestly, this big ancient demon was really powerful indeed. Even something like the twisting heaven and earth which could reverse yin and yang met with great resistance against this demon. But it was all worth it now. As long as the big ancient demon changed entirely, the real show would then begin. "How do you feel?" Lin Fan chuckled. B** starred ant. What did you do to me? Those malicious eyes of the big ancient demon glowed with boundless evil in those purple pupils. His baleful gaze seemed as though it was bound on devouring Lin Fan. "Oh, nothing much, just some switching up of the yin and yang to let you experience the gentleness and warmth of a woman. Remember, I'm doing it all for free. You're being charged nothing." Lin Fan winked. "You." The big ancient demon's eyes shone with disbelief as he looked down at his massive junk which was shrinking right now. In fact, the pure yang demonic energy within his body was gradually converting into yin as well. Arg! The big ancient demon stood up, unable to withstand this humiliation. He was a demon overlord who had conquered over the ancient times. How could this happen to him? He had to crush this ant to death viciously. But in the blink of an eye, a sharp pain surged up into his head. This pain caused the big ancient demon to give off a look of extreme shock. He possessed an imperishable body. How could he be feeling any pain? Impossible. This was absolutely impossible. Just what in the world is going on? Everyone from the sects inquired. They were entirely stupefied by the scene before them. Could this bottle's victory truly belong to them? I've employed a secret technique. This secret skill uses one's soul as the price for it. But this big ancient demon is just too strong. To think that it only received this much damage. Lin Fan's art of making up bullshit lies had reached a level of absolute dominance. It was enough to have anyone's jaws dropping at his bullshit. But all these people from the various sects took it as the truth. They had witnessed the strength of the big ancient demon for themselves, and they knew how strong this thing was. Looking at this big ancient demon, Lin Fan had half a mind to use his Black Tiger Steel's heart as well. Ever since he had learned this skill, he hadn't had the chance to let it evolve. If he could use this big ancient demon to train up that skill, evolution should be a piece of cake. But based on the current situation, that might not seem possible. Most people would have lost all fighting strength after being dealt with twisting heaven and earth. But to think that this big ancient demon could still hang on like this. Evidently, twisting heaven and earth alone was not enough to deal with it. If only twisting heaven and earth had evolved, that might probably cause the big ancient demon to lose his fighting strength. But even after it lost its fighting strength, it would still be impossible for Lin Fan and the others to kill it using their own methods. The physical body state of the big ancient demon had already reached some sort of peak status. It was definitely something that their current cultivation states could not deal with at all. Changed. It's finally changed. Lin Fan looked over at the throat of the big ancient demon and found that his Adam's apple was gradually disappearing. At the same time, his solemn face was slowly becoming gentler and smoother. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. The big ancient demon's tragic cry rang out once more. Upon noticing the changes of his body, he was almost unable to tolerate this entirely. This was nothing but a humiliation to him. Lin Fan turned around to the masses before grinning. Suddenly, he spread open both arms. A burst of energy shot out as though he had expended every single thing he had. What are you doing? Noticing this burst of energy, Grandmaster Yan and the others were pale. Grandmaster, the big ancient demon is an entity that belongs in the ancient times. His physical body state has already surpassed everything within this world. Killing him with just ordinary means would be impossible. For the safety of Dongling continent, I have to give up everything I've got to pull off a horrific skill so that I can take him down. Lin Fan's face was filled with determination. Boom. Once more, a massive shockwave erupted from Lin Fan. This energy was that of the life force. The boundless amount of life force leaked out. Grandmaster Yan and the others could clearly feel this life force. Lin Fan, don't be rash, we can share the responsibility. Grandmaster Yan understood what life force represented. It was the essence of one's being. If one exhausted his life force completely, then there would truly be no way to save him. It's useless. This horrific secret skill is something that only I can bear with. None of you will be able to help me. Lin Fan shook his head as a look of craftiness flashed by his eyes. Ugh. Suddenly, Lin Fan coughed out a few mouthfuls of fresh blood. The moment this blood sprayed up into the skies, they evaporated instantly. In the eyes of everyone present, the evaporating blood looked like what would happen to Lin Fan after he was done with this skill. Highs, to think that I would be able to meet with such a righteous and just man in my life. That's right, I used to think that Glory Sect wasn't deserving of the title of being number one in the past. But now that I look at it, I realize the distinct disparity between our disciples and theirs. November LBJNN. Grandmaster, it's alright, don't hold me back anymore. All of this has to happen. Else, everyone would be dead once that big ancient demon recovers. Lin Fan's voice was slightly hoarse right now, as though he was already ready to face his death. Looking at the skinny, frail body of Lin Fan right now, Grandmaster Yan and the others were filled with all sorts of emotions. As a Grandmaster, he had to depend on his disciples' sacrifice. Everything felt really terrible. He was still too weak after all. Junior Master, looking at the scene before him, Zhang Henshin began to weep. Mie Changqi gripped his fists tightly, filled with indignation towards all this. Grandmaster, I have a wish. I hope for Dongling continent to be peaceful. For this, I would willingly sacrifice my life without hesitation. But what a pity that I would no longer be able to accompany you guys in the sect. I can no longer see the smiles of our disciples in the sect any longer. Highs. Lin Fan let out a long sigh and lamented. It caused everyone to be filled with heartache and grief. Listening to these words, Grandmaster Yan felt like something was choking his throat right now, as he found it difficult to breathe amidst his sniffs. Senior Elder Wuya held his old, wrinkled hands tightly together. But he knew it was all too late to be stopped. The big ancient demon must be destroyed. And perhaps, Lin Fan would truly die right here. No, Glory Sect will always remember you for life. Grandmaster, Wuya here sincerely implores you. Once all of this is over, please craft the second tribute sculpture in our sect to be used for prayers. He shall stand right outside our sect's main halls for our disciples to pay respect to for generations to come. Wuya pleaded. Grandmaster Yan nodded his head. There was only a single tribute sculpture in the entire Glory Sect, and that belonged to the founder ancestor. This was a decision never made before to have Lin Fan's figure sculpted into a statue before the main hall of the sect. Continuing to spit out fresh blood, Lin Fan's joy leapt with joy momentously when he heard these words. Tribute sculpture. That was the utmost honor of the sect. In fact, it was something that could have never been possible. In every sect, there would only be a single tribute sculpture. Grand Master, aye. Of course, one must pull off the act to its climax. Lin Fan was so touched that he didn't know what to say anymore. Turning his head around, a stuttered voice came, Grand Master. It's not worth it. That's too costly for the sect's core. I, Duan Wuyi, have never submitted to anyone in my entire life. You are the messiah of Dongling continent. My Taiwu sect is willing to take out 1/3 of our entire treasure vault to contribute. Even though Function sect has its differences with Glory sect, Function sect shall contribute 1/3 of our treasure vault to it as well once all of these is over. Xuanyang sect too, Countess Tai sect in. Rapid Lightning sect is willing as well. 30 top sects, 1/3 of all of their treasure vaults. Lin Fan spewed out more blood again. But this time around, it was not to heighten the mood of the show. He was truly stunned. The ingredients required for a tribute sculpture are extremely stringent where only the most precious treasures and valuables are used. With so many sects contributing towards it, how bloody cool would his tribute sculpture be? And no, Lin Fan could not even begin to imagine it anymore. But no matter what, there was one thing he had to clarify. I thank everyone present right now. But, Grand Master, could you please craft my tribute sculpture within 10 days and place my body on top of it? That way, I would feel like I'm still living within our sect. Lin Fan looked at Grand Master Yan with wide eyes. Yes. With a sorrowful look, Grand Master Yan nodded his head. After receiving his reply, Lin Fan tossed back his head. Holy sh*t. He's really done it this time around. He's truly made it big. Big ancient demon, yours truly will FCK you up. Gurg. Lin Fan puked out another huge amount of blood. This was the blood of excitement. Translator's thoughts. Lamb. Ha. Is he going to pull some revival stunt? Honestly, our boy is so shameless, but I just can't stop laughing so badly, ha. Chapter 376, and Chicky follows in the footsteps of his master. Chapter 376, and Chicky follows in the footsteps of his master. Looking at the vast sky, Lin Fan felt like he had been given an upgrade. He took Chicky out of his bag. The man and chicken duo looked at one another in the eyes without the need for verbal communication, before nodding their heads respectively. It was as though they were telepathically connected, and could understand the thoughts of the other without the need for words. Grand Master, this is my pet Chicky. I hand him over to your hands if I die. Please take good care of him. Lin Fan tossed Chicky over. Cuckoo. A look of reluctance shone in Chicky's eyes. Turning back 3 times for every step he took, he eventually arrived by the side of Grand Master Yan. Burrowing his small little head deep into the embrace of Grand Master Yan, his body shivered gently, as though he was unwilling to witness the scene that was about to happen. It's okay, Grand Master Yan said with a firm look. This was a dying man's will. No matter what, he had to comply. November LBJNN. Aunt, how dare you do such an outrageous act to me? I'll kill you. The big ancient demon was now beyond the brink of insanity. His purple eyes shone with fiery blazes, as if they were intent on destroying everything in this world. HMPH. Big ancient demon, you've sinned gravely. Today, yours truly shall suppress you for all eternity and smite you down. Once upon a time, there was a heavenly defying item. Enduring countless battles through the ages, it blocked out all sorts of evil from penetrating what it was guarding. Just the name of it alone was proof of its remarkable past. Countless people want it, but yet they were unable to get it. And it is the one item that all males wish to become as well. Stained with all the blood in the world, it is an object that was worth bearing. Today, yours truly shall let it reappear on the earth once more. Come on out, 7 realms. Suddenly, the heaven and earth shook. It was as though a massive beast was about to break free from its cage in the void of the sky. Covering the sky, it was like a gigantic battle arc. This snow-white body of 7 realms opened its 2 flaps. Lin Fan's aura had now reached an epitome, as boundless life force flowed from him towards 7 realms. A piercing light covered the entire sky. What's that? To produce such a frightening aura, that must be something extremely strong. What sort of mythical weapon is that? It seems to be looking through into one's soul. Everyone's gazes were turned upon the skies. Seemingly ordinary, a single look of it was enough to send shivers down one's spines. Aunt, do you think that this thingy is enough to take me down? Stop your dreams. The big ancient demon's voice was rough and deep at first. But right now, the voice was really high-pitched and sharp. This caused everyone to feel really awkward listening to it. You need to stop talking. Can't you tell how disgusting you sound? Lin Fan pointed his finger at the big ancient demon and hollered. Lin Fan was more than satisfied with the legendary item 7 realms. Indeed, this was the right path for him to take. The only thing was that this was a one-use item, which would disappear afterward. Or perhaps, he could try to craft out the same thing again. Timing and geographical and societal circumstances were all required for that to happen. And luck. Yes, none of these could be missing from the equation. B** starred. The shame of everything caused the big ancient demon to feel extremely angry. Now that he looked like a she, this was an utter humiliation. He was a peerless existence that had conquered over all of the ancient times. To think that his entire outlook would be changed by this ant. How could he bear to endure all of these? 7 realms bring you comfort. Lin Fan did not want to say anything more. Flicking his robes, his aura exploded through the entire skies. As though that it was searching for its true solace in its home, 7 realms flew out towards the crotch of the big ancient demon. HMPH. Get destroyed. With a snort of disdain, the big ancient demon threw out a punch towards this strange oncoming object. But suddenly, a bright flash shimmered out as the 7 realms disappeared under his fist. When it next appeared, it was already on the crotch of the big ancient demon. Shing! A boundless amount of energy shot out from 7 realms as it enlarged giganormously. Lin Fan stared at the whole thing wide-eyed as well. He had no idea what sort of powers 7 realms would exhibit either. But based on the system's introduction, 7 realms disregarded cultivation state and everything else, causing death through menorrhagia. What is this? The big ancient demon roared in shock. This thing that had enlarged had stuck itself tightly at his crotch. Silky smooth, it was as though there was some magical power on both sides that was causing it to have perfect adhesive powers. Get lost. The big ancient demon wrapped his palms with demonic energy as he peeled furiously at 7 realms. But no matter how hard he tried, 7 realms refused to come off. B** starred. What have you done to me? Suddenly, the big ancient demon had an ominous feeling. This was the ominous feeling of death. Oh, nothing much. This is just to let you know that there is no room in this world for you to wreak havoc and act so brazenly. Lin Fan replied calmly. As though he had used up all the energy in his body, he continued, absorb. Shick. The moment Lin Fan's words came out, something horrific happened. As though it was filled with immense suction power that was fueled from some unknown otherworldly source, a bright beam of red light filled the world. No, what's this? The big ancient demon realized in terror that the demonic blood within his body was rumbling furiously, as if it was boiling up. And even more frightening than that was the fact that the blood seemed to be flowing downward like a river, sucked in by that mysterious thing. No. In the blink of an eye, the colossal body of the big ancient demon shriveled up like a dried-up leaf. At the same time, the bright red light in the skies was piercing through everyone's eyes blindly. Lin Fan took a look at the mass audiences. Realizing that they couldn't see what was going on, he hurriedly kept the body of the big ancient demon in his storage with the flick of his robes. Scary. This was simply way too horrifying. To think that the legendary weapon 7 realms would be so strong. To be able to kill even a big ancient demon in a split second. What a heaven-defying existence. Ding, congratulations on killing big ancient demon. Ding, experience points plus 60 billion feet. Ding, cultivation state leveled up. But this was not the time to be bothered about stuff like this just yet. Based on the play he had crafted out, he was supposed to die. He had already kept his aura within himself, and his heart stopped beating entirely. Plop, rolling his eyes back, Lin Fan completely faked his death. The red light slowly dissipated as everyone's vision recovered. All of them were dying to know just what had happened. When they finally saw clearly the sight before them, they were in complete shock. The towering colossal figure of that big ancient demon had disappeared entirely. At the same time, a figure collapsed onto the floor. Lin Fan, Junior Master, Master, everyone from Glory Sect rushed over immediately. All the other Grand Masters followed closely behind with a grim expression. The moment everyone from Glory Sect looked at the person who laid there lifelessly, they were filled with sorrow. Grand Master Yan was the first to head up to check everything before shaking his head helplessly. Mie Changqi staggered into a kneel beside his master's body. Lowering his head, his face was filled with grief. Master. How can you leave us? He had not expected this to be the final ending. Hugged tightly in Grand Master Yan's embrace, Chicky suddenly leapt down. He ran over to Lin Fan. Using both wings, he tried to push Lin Fan awake. Koo. Chicky's voice was filled with misery. After that final cry, a stream of fresh blood flowed out from his beak as he laid down lifelessly on Lin Fan's embrace as well. Chicky had realized that his master was definitely faking his death. But with Chicky's intellect, he garnered that there must be benefits to be gained from his master doing so. Hence, as a younger brother partner of Lin Fan, how could he not get some spillover of the benefits? Since his master was faking his death, Chicky might as well fake his death as well. Senior Elder Wuya's face changed immediately as he headed up to check. His pulse is dead. He's dead. Wuya's heart was choking up as well. To think that there would be such a pet in this world. This is a pet which has the utmost loyalty. This might perhaps be his true home, with his master. Grand Master Yan, don't worry. The matter is sealed. All of our sects will definitely fulfill our promises. The tribute sculpture must be crafted. And it must be the grandest one ever crafted. We'll head back to prepare now. Finally, the sky cleared up. Even though the big ancient demon had been defeated, everyone's mood right now was solemn. Lu Yan stood there all the while. Placing his palms together, he muttered a few prayers for Lin Fan. Zhang Henshin's face was streaming with tears right now. How could such a good man like his junior master Lin die just like that? Translator's thoughts. Lam. Chicky. OMG Chicky, I cannot even. Chapter 377, Return to Glory Sect once more. Chapter 377, Return to Glory Sect once more. The skies were especially bleak right now. Even though there weren't many casualties in the battle this time around, Glory Sect had lost someone of unparalleled importance. Highs. Grand Master Yan gave a long sigh. He looked as though he had aged considerably. Flicking his robes, a crystal coffin with light swirling like a liquid appeared on the ground. This was a crystal coffin I had prepared for myself. To think that, he shook his head, evidently pained. Even though the big ancient demon had been taken down, this wasn't anything really joyous for Glory Sect. Grand Master Yan looked at Lin Fan, who laid lifelessly within that coffin. He couldn't help but wipe the side of his eyes. Why did he feel like crying all of a sudden? Mie Changqi lowered his head, carrying the crystal coffin on his back. Two energy grid line chains coiled themselves around the crystal coffin. Let's keep the crystal coffin in our storage ring, Grand Master Yan suggested. Mie Changqi shook his head. No. My master doesn't like the darkness. As his disciple, I ought to carry his remains back to the sect. Grand Master Yan did not insist any further. Flicking his robes, he opened up a void in the space and brought the disciples to traverse through it. As for those battle arcs, they had long been destroyed in the battle with the big ancient demon. Lying quietly in the crystal coffin, Lin Fan frowned. Why the hell was Chicky acting dead along with him? But thinking once more about how similar Chicky's personality was with his, he understood clearly. Chicky must have definitely sensed the benefits awaiting this act. Hence, he followed Lin Fan for the funeral. The experience points obtained from killing that big ancient demon was simply far beyond anyone's imaginations. A full 60 billion, this amount of experience points even exceeded Lin Fan's wildest expectations. Greater Celestial Middle Level, Greater Celestial Upper Level, Greater Celestial Full Cultivation. With the surge of the massive amount of experience points and the help of the system, that invisible barrier which had hindered and restricted countless martial artists in Dongling Continent was destroyed instantly. At that moment, Lin Fan seemed to have entered a suspended sort of cultivation state. In the mysterious unknown underworld, there seemed to be a towering door that was sealing the heavens and earth. Lin Fan floated gently towards this door. Using his hands, he pushed gently as the doors opened themselves for him. This was a new world. A new state of being. Gradually, Lin Fan's consciousness was lost within the confines of that door. His mental energy and soul floated off gently too, wandering off to an unknown, indescribable state. Glory Sect. Countless disciples stood guard outside the gates of Glory Sect. They too knew of the horrifying news of the big ancient demon's descent on this world. The Grand Master had led all the elders out for this war, and no one knew of their life or death. Especially when the Grand Master's last words to them were like his final will for the sect, how could they not be filled with worries and fear? And just then, the void rippled gently. Like a stone being tossed into a lake, ripples began to spread out, causing most disciples to hold their breath in worrying anticipation. One by one, their desperate gazes were fixated on the void. They wished that everyone would come back safe and sound, bringing some exhilarating news of positivity. They wanted to know that the big ancient demon had been subdued. Even though everyone's hearts bore hope, they were worried as well. They feared that there would just be a few people who would exit the void. That's the Grand Master. The Grand Master's all right. That's Senior Elder Wuya. That's Senior Elder Lu Mingyang. ... Looking at the number of figures exiting the void increasing, the disciples were gradually getting more excited. The current Peak Master of Jalan Peak, Mu Bingyan, gripped her fists tightly as well. Before the Grand Master had left with the senior elders, he had handed down arrangements for the sect to her. Perhaps to Grand Master Yan, these were needless arrangements. After all, if the big ancient demon did not disappear, no one would be able to escape the final fate awaiting them. Death was only a matter of time by then. Gradually, the disciples of Glory sect began to notice that something was wrong. There was not a single person less that had returned. But why was it that all their expressions were especially somber and grim? Did something huge happen? Looking at the safe return of Mie Changqi, Zhang Ergo and Gang heaved a sigh of relief as well. They had been resistant to the idea of Mie Changqi taking part in the operation this time around. It was simply way too dangerous. But he heeded none of their warnings and headed forth along the steps of the Grand Master. Phew, it's great fortune that he's back safe and sound. Zhang Ergo heaved out in relief. But the thing that puzzled him was that coffin that Mie Changqi was carrying behind him. After Grand Master Yan and the others floated down from the skies, all of the disciples gathered around them excitedly. Grand Master, has the big ancient demon been vanquished? The disciples asked enthusiastically. Yes, Grand Master Yan nodded his head. Upon hearing this, all of the disciples broke out in exhilaration. But it wasn't long before they noticed that there wasn't a single crease of joy on the Grand Master's face. In its place was just a look of grief. Did something truly happen, or were there any elders who had lost their lives? But checking out everyone carefully, they found no such thing. Some of the elders might have sustained injuries, but there were definitely no fatal wounds. Then why was it that the Grand Master and the rest were behaving as such? It's good that you're back, junior brother. Zhang Ergo and the rest gathered around Mie Changqi, patting him on the shoulders. What's wrong, junior brother? Why do you seem so unhappy when the big ancient demon has been defeated? Zhang Ergo asked in bewilderment. Even though junior brother Mie had always been more on the cold side, he has never shown such a sorrowful look. What is it? What's this coffin thing? Zhang Ergo was extremely confused, not knowing what was going on. Tian Yu was equally curious. Hence, he took a peek within the crystal coffin. But the moment he saw what was within it, his blood turned cold. Be big senior, brother. Tian Yu was unable to stand still, his voice quivering. What's wrong? Zhang Ergo asked doubtfully. What was wrong with junior brother Tian Yu now? Did he see something strange within it? Zhang Ergo headed forth and gave his junior brother Tian Yu a nudge, but the latter wouldn't budge a single inch. He turned his gaze towards the coffin. The moment even his side glance caught sight of it, he collapsed onto the ground in despair. He stretched out his hands trembling. That flushed red face of his turned pale as a sheet immediately. Master. Zhang Ergo could not believe his eyes. He then shot up immediately and threw himself at the coffin, hugging it and screaming at the top of his lungs, Master Within the crystal coffin, Lin Fan laid there lifelessly. Chicky laid by his side peacefully as well. At this moment, Lin Fan had long drifted into the mysterious unknown and did not have a single clue about anything that was happening here. Mie Changqi, what happened? Just what happened? Zhang Ergo grabbed at Mie Changqi's collars and screamed and screamed and screamed. He had just not seen his master for a few months. He had not expected that the next time he saw his master would be his lifeless, cold body in a coffin. In order to take down the big ancient demon, master has sacrificed his life along with the demon. Mie Changqi bit down on his lips while gripping his fists uncontrollably. Ugh! With that, Zhang Ergo spat out blood violently. It was as though he had just received some impossible impact. How could this be? Master is dead. If Lin Fan had any bit of consciousness remaining here right now, he would definitely be flabbergasted. He had really done it this time around. Was he truly that important in their hearts? Translator's thoughts. Lam, of course you are my dear MC. Not just their hearts, our hearts too, son. Our hearts too, but also, I wonder how the plot would go on from here. Kangling continent soon please. Sad face. Chapter 378, Complete Breakdown. Chapter 378, Complete Breakdown. Nameless Peak. Sister Gong, do you think that monster will be destroyed? Kaiser Chow was lying in the embrace of Gong Bingye right now, allowing the latter to braid her hair. A grim and solemn expression appeared on her pink, rotund face. For an expression as such to appear on the face of a child was absolutely hilarious. How could a child that age be so melancholic? Senior brother Feng, what are you busy with? Looking at Feng Buju who was pacing about, Kaiser Chow asked curiously. Oh, little junior sister. I'm preparing some dishes and food to welcome junior brother Mie back. Feng Buju smiled back cheerily. Looking at everything, Gong Bingye could only muster out a sigh. Hopefully, everything would be alright. Feng Buju didn't know what he was doing exactly either. The only reason he did so was to bring that bit of hope and anticipation back into his heart. Zhi Chao, what sort of braids would you like to have today? Gong Bingye smiled. After considering for a moment, Zhi Chao replied, I want the nicest one there is. Alright, Gong Bingye chuckled as she started combing the luscious hair of Zhi Chao. Her nimble hands then started work on crafted out a unique set of braids for Zhi Chao. It had been quite some time since she had arrived at Glory Sect. Her family had been getting stronger as well. But for Gong Bingye, her fondness of this place was only blossoming by the day. This was a simple place without much hoodwinking and deception. At the same time, there was a sense of warmth to this place. Gong Bingye was thinking that she might be able to step down from her position of the family head soon and allow someone else in the family to take on the responsibility. She had thought it through. Whether or not she was the direct descendant of the family line, that didn't matter anymore. What was important was the passing down of the family spirit. That was all that mattered. As for that man, Gong Bingye did not dare to harbor many expectations anymore. The more she interacted with him, the more she realized the distance in their worlds. That was basically a gulf that she could not hope to cross. Being able to accompany Zhi Chao by the side like this was a form of happiness as well. Big senior brother Mie and the others are back. Zhi Chao, who was lying in Gong Bingye's embrace, cried out in excitement as she noticed the people arriving in the distance. Gong Bingye heaved a sigh of relief. As long as everything was fine. Junior brother Mie has finally returned safely. Feng Buju headed up excitedly. He had been fraught with worries all these time, afraid that something might happen. But now that he saw Mie Changqi being safe and sound physically, he couldn't help but rest easy. As long as everything was fine. Other than their master, Mie Changqi was the #1 fighting strength on Nameless Peak. Having his junior brother Mie shoulder the burden for some stuff caused Feng Buju to feel slightly embarrassed as a senior brother. But they were family after all. What was a little more or less effort? All that mattered was their safety and happiness together. Junior brother, your senior brother here has prepared these dishes personally for you. Isn't this a scrumptious feast? Feng Buju was extremely pleased as he wielded the butcher's knife. What's wrong with you guys? Why do all of you look so forlorn? What happened? Gong Bingye was hugging Zhi Chao and smiling gently. But when she caught sight of the expressions on Mie Changqi and the others, she had an ominous feeling in her heart, as though something terrible had happened. Sister Gong, why are your hands trembling? Zhi Chao looked at Gong Bingye innocently. Nothing much. Gong Bingye smiled gently in response as she continued to comb and braid Zhi Chao's hair. Zhang Ergo looked at Feng Buju with a dazed and pale face. Eventually, he stuttered out hoarsely, Master. Master is dead. Feng Buju shuddered for a moment. Grandmaster Yan died. For their lives on Nameless Peak, Grandmaster Yan had been more than generous in offering his help. Upon hearing the news of his passing, Feng Buju and the others could not help but feel terrible as well. And not Grandmaster Yan, Zhang Ergo cried out. Unable to control himself anymore, he rubbed his nose and eyes before wailing out as tears gushed down like a river once more. If it's not Grandmaster Yan, then... Feng Buju froze up. The butcher knife in his hand dropped onto the ground with a loud clang. His entire face had turned pale as a sheet. He bent down and took up the butcher knife once more. But those trembling hands of his could not hide the fact that he seemed to have realized something but was just struggling to maintain his composure. Haha, big senior brother, stop joking around. How could that be? Our master's still playing outside, haha. Don't try to pull my leg just because I'm stupid and take everything as facts easily. Alright, let's not talk anymore. Come on guys, I've prepared a delicious feast. Feng Buju seemed to be lost right now. His eyes darted left and right, scanning the surroundings, but was unable to find a target to focus on. His hands grasped at his clothes tightly, holding on to this last bit of hope. Hurry up and come eat. If you pull my leg again you're going to be the one cooking next time. Feng Buju turned around to the kitchen while muttering out. Our master is really dead. Zhang Ergo screamed out at Feng Buju. Collapsing onto the ground, Zhang Ergo dug his hands scratched at the soil miserably. Master, he has sacrificed himself along with the big ancient demon, junior brother. Gong Bingye, who has been braiding the hair of Kai Zhichao, froze up as well. The comb dropped onto the floor as her face was blank. How could this be? Initially all smiles, Zhichao broke out of Gong Bingye's embrace as though she had realized something. She ran over to Zhang Ergo and using those small, tender hands of hers, pinched at his arm gently. Big senior brother, where's master? She looked at Zhang Ergo pitifully as tears began to well up in those large, innocent eyes of hers. Feng Buju gritted his teeth and turned around. Glaring at Zhang Ergo furiously, he howled, Big senior brother, that's impossible. Our master is the strongest person in the entire glory sect. He's just out for fun. When he's tired of it all, he'll return to US. Don't lie to me anymore, or I'll get angry. You better tell me that you're lying right now. It's true. Tianyu lowered his head and cast his gaze into the distance, as though he was unable to accept this truth right now as well. The body of our master lies within the main hall. Impossible. I refuse to believe. Feng Buju hollered out in rage. As though he had gone mad, he ran down Nameless Peak. He refused to believe all of this until he had seen it for himself. The strongest man in Glory Sect, the master who had always groomed them. How could he have died just like that? Saint Devil Sect had yet to become the strongest sect there was. Glory Sect, main hall. A crystal coffin laid quietly within. Countless disciples lowered their heads. All of these were outer sect disciples who had received Lin Fan's help personally in the past. Every single one had their eyes were red. Even though Junior Master Lin was never one who had bothered about the rules and would bully them at times, he still offered his assistance whenever they needed it. And right now, the body of their beloved Junior Master Lin was laying silently within the crystal coffin. Every single thing seemed so surreal. Master, Feng Buju finally arrived. When he caught sight of the crystal coffin, his body jerked intensely to a halt. He then took slow steps, one at a time, inching towards the coffin with a furiously thumping heart. Impossible, definitely impossible. He slowly approached the coffin. But the moment he stood in front of it and looked within, it was as though every single last bit of air had been sucked out of his body, as he collapsed to a thud in front of the coffin. He grabbed onto it with a death grip. How could this be? How could this be? Master, answer me. Tell me that this is all a joke of yours. Feng Buju yelled miserably. Junior brother Feng, Junior Master Lin he's truly left. Zhang Henshin walked up and placed a hand on Feng Buju's shoulders, consoling him. Impossible, impossible, ... Soon, Gong Bingye, Kai Zhichao, and the others arrived. Looking at the body lying within the crystal coffin, Kai Zhichao bawled out loudly. Master, I want master, I want master. Mie Changqi's heart was in extreme grief right now, as he felt like he was choking, unable to breathe properly. He had never once experienced a feeling as such. It was as though something important had just disappeared forever within his heart. Looking at this scene, Grand Master Yan and the others were equally pained. He then exchanged glances with the other senior elders and left for the treasure vault. He must fulfill what he had promised Lin Fan. Translator's thoughts. Lam. Wow, even though I know this isn't real and I can't hope to see him come back and laugh, I have to say that it was still a little heart-wrenching reading this chapter. Ouch. Also, the pun for the misunderstanding is that they use the same terms to refer to Lin Fan and Grandmaster Yan. However, these are his first few disciples and I felt that in the context earlier on, it would have been better for them to refer to him as Master. Future disciples who are lower down the tier may then refer to Lin Fan as Grandmaster Lin. Chapter 379, Lost in the Mysterious Grounds. Chapter 379, Lost in the Mysterious Grounds. Where is this dog's tea place? In a mysterious place, Lin Fan looked left and right. He could not make out just where this place was. His surroundings were pitch black. At the same time, there were many bright spots which passed by him rapidly everywhere. He tried stretching out his hands to grab hold of them. However, these seemingly near spots of light seemed to be pretty far at the same time, eluding his grasp no matter how he tried. Bloody hell, just what kind of dog's tea place is this? How did I end up here after just opening one damned door? Lin Fan was puzzled, unable to comprehend what was happening. He felt that something seemed to be calling him from far ahead, but the moment he tried moving his feet, he couldn't move at all. All he could do was stand there rooted, watching silently. Bloody hell, FCK this place. Let yours truly out. Yours truly was only pretending to be dead. The moment my tribute sculpture is done, yours truly is going to revive. Don't bloody trap me in this place where I can't wake up for all eternity. Lin Fan was starting to feel that this place was pretty strange. There was evidently a mysterious force beckoning for him far ahead, yet he was unable to move at all. It was as though something was blocking his path forward entirely. 10 days later, a dozens of feet tribute sculpture tall had been constructed. This tribute sculpture stood in front of Glory Sect's main hall. Mighty, towering, and imposing. As promised, every single top sect had sent 1/3 of their treasure vaults over, and all of those treasures had gone into building this tribute sculpture. It could be said that this was the most expensive tribute sculpture ever made in the entire Dongling continent. The tribute sculpture was extremely lifelike and looked exactly like Lin Fan, without much of a difference. The sculpture had a dazzling smile, as though it was welcoming the dawn of a new world. On the shoulders of the statue stood a chicken. This chicken too was really lifelike as well. Perched upright, it looked into the distance as though it was anticipating and welcoming something. Chicky had faked his death for a little while. However, when he woke up to find his brother boss not awake yet, he was astonished. Eventually, he went into a deep hibernation as well, as though he was trying to find the mystery that lied within his bloodline. Everyone from Glory Sect had come to terms with the reality. However, they could not soothe that heavy feeling in their hearts. Tribute. Looking at this tribute sculpture, Grand Master Yan's eyes revealed a hint of sadness. Raising the offerings high on both hands, he called out loudly, leading the entire sect to follow suit. Hoist the soul. With a loud call, that crystal coffin floated gently up into the air before finally stopping on the head of the tribute sculpture. A beam of bright light shone on the crystal coffin, as though it was ensuring that the body within did not decompose. Daddy! A weird-sounding shriek rang out. In the eyes of everyone else, this person might have been here just to cause a nuisance and trouble. But this person's tears were streaking down his cheeks profusely. That tragic cry was especially heart-wrenching. Lu Linfang ran straight up to the leg of the tribute sculpture, bawling out loudly while hugging it. If Lin Fan woke up right now, he would definitely have spat out all his blood. To think that this cheap son that he somehow earned would be here for his funeral. Zhan Yongxian was supported by a few disciples, a terrible look of grief laid clear on her face. When she had first heard of this news, she did not dare to believe that this was the truth. However, when she caught sight of the lifeless body resting within the coffin, her heart shattered entirely. Boss, we've come to send you off on your final journey. Don't worry, we will not ruin your reputation. We will definitely glorify the ways of robbing and spread it throughout the world. The 14 sand bandits kneeled down before the tribute sculpture and swore in their hearts. Boss, we've sent the disciple you've taken in here as well. Yu Juling knelt there kowtowing. Master, even though you haven't taught me much at all, but the fact still remains, a mentor is like a father. You're my master of a lifetime. Big senior brother has already allowed me to remain here in Saint Devil Sect. Rest assured, Master, I will definitely train up well and not let you down. The funeral ceremony was over. Yongxian, let's head back. The Grand Master of Xuanjian sect was extremely heartbroken to see her disciple this way. Zhan Yongxian looked at her master before kneeling down in front of her. Master, I'm sorry. I've let you down. Yongxian, this. Grand Master Zhan was stumped. Master, a woman follows her husband wherever she goes. I'm now his woman. I wish to stay here to accompany him, guard over him and talk to him so that he doesn't get lonely. Zhan Yongxian replied. Yongxian, you. Grand Master Zhan had not expected things to turn out this way. Master, please give me your blessings. I'm unable to accept the post as the Grand Master of Xuanjian sect. Fellow junior sisters, I'll depend on you guys to look after the Grand Master from here on forth. Zhan Yongxian kowtowed. Matriarch, please return. Our master had never liked to burden anyone even when he was alive. If he knew about this, he wouldn't wish for you to wallow in despair as such as well. I'm sure he can feel your intentions from beyond. Xuanjian sect needs you. If master were still alive right now, he would definitely not wish to see you as such. Looking at the mighty tribute sculpture, Zhang Ergo let out a smile, as though his master was just right in front of him. Yongxian, he's right, you cannot just slide into an abyss from here on forth due to despair. If you miss him, you can always return here from time to time. Grand Master Zhan cast a grateful look to Zhang Ergo. That's right, senior sister. You can always visit him in the future. The other disciples of Xuanjian sect helped to mediate the situation. After going silent for a moment, Zhan Yongxian replied, Master, let me stay here for a month. I'll head back once the month is over. Yes, all right. Upon hearing this, Grandmaster Zan nodded her head. Everything was fine as long as she was willing to take over the position of the Grandmaster. Looking at the tribute sculpture, Zan Yongxian murmured in her heart, "It'll be fast, don't worry. I'll make haste to groom a suitable candidate to take over before heading back to accompany you. We'll be inseparable for life." In the vast skies, the girl whom Lin Fan had mistaken as the Heaven Queen floated quietly while looking at the funeral. Eventually, she sighed helplessly before disappearing back into the voids. To think that even you would have fallen. Sacrificing yourself for the sake of Dongling continent, you are someone Ni Feishui, will remember for life. But a pity that the crisis is still far from over. Time was the best tool for recovery. A month later. Zan Yongxian was reluctant to leave. Glory sect had regained its peaceful days. However, every disciple who passed by the tribute sculpture would still look at it respectfully. This was the pride of Glory sect. This was the most respectable man of Glory sect. Nameless Peak was still in a solemn mood. Even though a month had passed, there still wasn't much sign of life on the Nameless Peak. None of them had stepped out of their grief yet. And after this 1 month, the newly minted Grandmaster of Jushao sect, Xinfeng, arrived silently with a heavy heart. Zhang Ergo stepped forth to welcome him, but Xinfeng did not say much. He just sat there silently by the tribute sculpture, waiting silently. After a month passed, he left quietly as well. No one knew what he was thinking in his mind all this time. 2 months, 3 months. Gradually, everyone from Glory sect began to walk out of their misery. They were no longer upset, and they wanted to fulfill their master's final wish. To grow Saint Devil sect. As the big senior brother of Saint Devil sect, Zhang Ergo took on this heavy burden. Even though his cultivation state wasn't that high, unity was strength. With a firm will and unity, they could definitely do anything. Ever since the incident, Mie Changqi had entered a state of seclusion. He knew that he was now the strongest person within Saint Devil sect. In order to protect Saint Devil sect from the bullying of outsiders, he had to grow stronger so that he had the strength to guard the sect. Zhang Ergo knew that the pressure on his junior brother Mie was immense, but he did not know what he could say. Each time he passed by the location where Mie Changqi had gone into seclusion, he would stand there quietly deep in his thoughts. Each time he was faced with difficulty, he would come before the tribute sculpture and stand. Each of those standing sessions would last a full day and night before he returned to Nameless Peak and continued pouring in efforts to make Saint Devil sect great again. Translator's thoughts. Lam. This all sounds like the end of this arc of Lin Fan's cultivation, I suppose. I garner that we will now start moving into uncharted territories. These are the author's comments. This script here is about to be finished. We're going to move into the big era soon. I don't know how many more words or chapters there will be here, but give me some time to close off the unanswered questions and clean up this act. By the sounds of that, Act 2 might just be over, boys, if we consider Act 1 as Saint Devil sect's destruction. Haha, looking forward to everything. Opening parenthesis : Chapter 380. How many brain cells died for this? Chapter 380. How many brain cells died for this? 6 months later, on a training ground on Nameless Peak, 2 figures were working hard at training. A series of dull sounds rang through the entire Nameless Peak. Both of you, come and take a break. You won't miss anything much with a short rest. Looking at the 2 figures on the training grounds, Gong Bingye called out gently. Yes, Sister Gong. Placing down the long sword in her hand, Kaiser Chow picked up the pastries on the table and munched on them happily. I'll come over in a bit. Yu Juling did not stop. Her small little frail body endured the wooden dummy trap which was landing blows on her one at a time. With every blow, she bit into her lips further, not allowing herself to let any noise out. Sweat was pouring like rain on that exquisite face of hers, but she didn't have a single complaint. With every single beating she received, a stream of energy would flow through her limbs within her body. What Zhi Chao learned was the will of the sword. Yu Juling did not learn that. Instead, she learned the titanium-grade demon body. The titanium-grade demon body only had 3 levels initially. But once it was imparted by someone, it could be trained up to 6 levels. When Lin Fan was bored and had nothing to do, he would tirelessly note down these 6 levels of training, and had left them on Nameless Peak. Yu Juling wanted to follow the path of her master. Hence, she chose to train up the titanium-grade demon body. But, this was an extremely difficult skill to train with. The physical torment was practically unbearable for a child that age. Ever since Yu Juling acknowledged Lin Fan as her master, she did not withhold anything to herself. She also wrote down the entire heaven-graded upper-level skill Heaven and Earth 5 Thunder Strike, and placed it within Nameless Peak's skill library. As the final strike of the wooden dummy landed on Yu Juling, a warm gush of energy broke through the bottleneck. Titanium-grade demon body level 1 was completed. Wiping the sweat from her forehead, Yu Juling came before Gong Bingye. Putting on her sweetest smile, she took up a piece of pastry and said, "Thank you, Sister Gong." During this period of time, Gong Bingye had already handed down her position as the family head of the Gong family, and was residing on Nameless Peak, taking care of these 2 kids. "Junior sister, Master said that one must have a limit while training. Take your time, there's no rush." Even though Zhichao was young, she had entered the sect early. Hence, she was no longer the small junior sister. Now, she had successfully upgraded to be senior sister. Senior sister, that's not right. One must persevere through training. The moment one enters a concentrated state, they have to push on all the way till the end. Eating her pastry, Yu Juling shook her head in response. Zhichao pouted her lips, "Junior sister, I'm the senior sister. You should listen to me." Nopes. If the senior sister is wrong, as a junior sister, I ought to point out her mistakes as well. Yu Juling shook her head once more. "Junior sister, if you don't listen to senior sister, then I won't play with you any longer." After a long time, Zhichao had finally upgraded to become a senior sister. Therefore, she wanted to thoroughly relish this feeling of being one. "Nope, I cannot just listen blindly. I have to have my own thoughts." Yu Juling took up yet another piece of pastry. "Junior sister, you must listen to senior sister." Kai Zhichao stood with her arms akimbo, acting like an adult. "Nopes." Yu Juling shook her head. Looking at this scene, Gong Bingye pursed her lips and chuckled, all right. Stop arguing. Don't talk when you're eating, haha. Sister Gong is right. Let's not talk when we're eating. Yu Juling echoed. Kai Zhichao pouted her lips once more with a look of defeat. She thought that she would acquire a follower once she turned into a senior sister. To think that this junior sister would refuse to listen to her at all. Sprawled resting at a corner, Whitey gave off a languid roar as well, as though she was in agreement. "Sister Gong, I'm done eating. I'll be off to train up now." Yu Juling wiped her mouth before turning over. "Senior sister, don't be too lazy. Otherwise, you'll have no face left once I catch up with you. There's no way I'll lose to you." The moment Zhichao heard this, she hurriedly gulped down her cake before proceeding to focus on her training. Busy with his own work, Zhang Ergo looked at these 2 junior sisters. Casting yet another look at the tribute sculpture far in the distance, he let out a hardened smile. "Master, don't worry, we've been working hard." In this period of time, Zhan Yongxian would come by once a month. Each time, she would linger for a full 3 days and nights before leaving silently. The 14 sand bandits would come by as well. Each time, they would report on their progress on the way of robbery, how far they had progressed, the sort of enlightenment they had achieved along the way. In that mysterious realm, Lin Fan realized that he couldn't move forward even a single inch. In the end, he sat down cross-legged and entered a comprehension state, experiencing and feeling his surroundings. In the midst of comprehending everything, he found himself entering a magical state. It was an unexplainable state of being. He found those seemingly near yet unapproachable light spots floating around him all the while. He did not know how much time had passed, nor did he know what was going on in the outside world. Lin Fan wanted to wake up from this state as soon as possible. He didn't want to live life as a vegetable. As for the state of his physical body, he wasn't worried about it in the least bit. With his current physical body state, no one and nothing would be able to damage it. Imperishable physical body state, this was no joke at all. And at this moment, Lin Fan seemed to have finally found the way back. The more he comprehended, the more he seemed to be able to manipulate those light spots. Perhaps these light spots were like a puzzle, a maze. It was as though his consciousness would be able to return to his body once he solved this, as though he had found the exit. 7 months passed. 8 months. 1 year later. Glory Sect was especially lively today, with a large crowd gathered at its entrance at the base of its peak. All of these were commoners. The reason for their presence today was none other than Glory Sect's recruitment. All of these commoners hoped to be able to enter a grand sect. They wanted to be a disciple of such a sect, to learn those peerless skills, and to step up as an upper being of life. Some of these commoners had pretty decent cultivation bases. However, they required the help of a sect before they could get into the next stage of life and the likes. All of those rare treasures that sects often had access to were what dreams were made up of for these commoners. All of those mythically graded skills. These were the things they needed. They came from all sorts of backgrounds. Some of them were from distinguished ones such as royalty, while others could be from extreme poverty, the lowest of all the classes of humans. All the commoners who were present for the entrance test were deep in whispers right now, discussing everything. Silence. Suddenly, a figure appeared at the entrance, staring at the crowd sternly. All of the candidates shut their mouths immediately, staring fervently at this figure before them. This person was none other than Zong Henshin. Candidates who wish to take part in the entrance test, your first test. Climbing the heavenly steps. After his comment, he waved his hand. Any candidates who had any cultivation states found their cultivation states being sealed. The stairs up to Glory Sect totaled more than 300. If you manage to climb up, you pass the first stage. The moment Zong Henshin finished, he headed up. The followed suit hurriedly, pushing and shoving to be ahead. Time flew by quickly. There were only half of the original candidates who survived. Those who failed were disappointed beyond words. Those who had passed were filled with glee, as they began their discussions once more. At this moment, Zong Henshin stood before a sculpture. He raised his head, seemingly deep in his thoughts. All of you shut up. The moment Zong Henshin heard all these candidates chattering incessantly and loudly at a place like this, his expression turned frosty as he lashed out. All of you shall raise your heads and look at this tribute sculpture for an entire day and night. Zong Henshin looked at the tribute sculpture and said gently. In the crowd, a feeble question rang out, is this the second test? No, Zong Henshin replied. The moment everyone heard that this wasn't a test, they heaved out a sigh of relief. Some people who were once arrogant and FC King cocky in their usual lives began to rant. What's so good about watching this broken statue? He's laughing like a retard. And is that a chicken? That's so bloody ugly. What a weird sect, looking at a statue for an entire day and night. Did they want me to go blind? Looking at this bunch of candidates, Zong Henshin continued, this tribute sculpture is man whose deeds surpass this world. Anyone who doesn't wish to continue looking can follow me for the second test. The moment everyone heard this, their hearts were overwhelmed with joy. Since they could do without watching, why the hell would they continue to? Of course, they'd go on for the next test. What was there to be gained from looking at a dumb statue? One by one, everyone followed behind Zong Henshin. There were only 3 people who remained behind at the tribute sculpture. Those 3 weren't even standing up. They were kneeling down, their heads kowtowed. Those who followed behind Zong Henshin gloated in their hearts. Were these 3 idiots? They weren't even standing up to look at this dumb statue but kneeling. Aren't you guys coming for the test? Zong Henshin asked. Sir, our country was once invaded by a beast stampede. But it was this great man here who had saved our entire country. We knew that he belonged to Glory Sect, hence we made the journey of tens of thousands of miles here to try to enter Glory Sect. The 3 of them replied. Junior Master, to think that you would still have so many things that we do not know about. Zong Henshin repeated while looking at the sculpture. He then turned around to the crowd following him, you guys have been eliminated. Please leave. The moment they heard this, everyone exclaimed out in absolute disbelief. What the hell was going on? They hadn't even gone for the second test. How was it over just like this? The 3 of you have passed the test. You're now disciples of Glory Sect. Please follow me. Zong Henshin pointed at the 3 kneeling down. Ignoring the rest of the dumbstruck crowd, he prepared to leave this place. The 3 of them were stumped as well. To think that they had become Glory Sect disciples just like this. This was too simple, wasn't it? Boom. Just then, a loud sound came out from above the tribute sculpture. Zong Henshin, who was about to leave the place, stopped dead in his tracks. His face changed as he looked up at the tribute sculpture in disbelief. And then, a voice permeated the air. Holy sh*t. Yours truly has gone through so much trials and tribulations, wasted so much of my brain cells to finally exit the maze. I am back. Translator's thoughts. Lamb. Holy shit, I'm literally having goosebumps reading this right now, and I'm not even saying so because it's raining over at my place right now, ha. But gosh, who else is excited for our dear Lin fan? Author's comments. This can be considered the start of a new journey. Alrighty then, I am all prepped for the new journey. Are you guys?